was reading this because I got to work on that. That's not now. No, next month. I'm trying to do it on the beginning of our meeting.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Glad to have everybody out tonight. Let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. January 28, 2025, Kershaw County Council meeting. We're going to get on to the agenda. First item we have is an invocation by Councilman Sammy Tucker Jr.
Thank you. Will we all stand, please? Let us bow our heads and open our hearts. God, Father Almighty, we come to you as humbly as we know how, asking for your mercy and your grace. We thank you now for life, health, and strength. We thank you for this day and the many blessings that you have stored upon us. We ask now, Father, that you cover our hearts and our minds as we deliberate the business of the people up here. Let us always be aware and alert and passionate about what the people are saying and trying to deliver to us. Bless our men and women that are continuing to fight for our freedoms and liberties that we're so blessed to have in this country. Give us traveling mercy to our destinations as we depart this place, but never from your presence. We ask now for good hearts, sound minds, and clear heads. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen.
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 I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Tucker.
You're welcome, Chair.
That brings us to adoption of the agenda, item 4, gentlemen. Do we have a motion?
Make a motion we accept the agenda as presented.
Mr. Tucker, is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Cato, thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll call it for a vote. All in favor, raise your hand. Ms. Hannah, it's unanimous for the record. That brings us to item number 5 on the agenda, public comments. Mr. DeBose.
We have, well, there are many lines skipped. Let me do some math here real quick. We have 10 public speakers.
All right, we've got 10 speakers. I'll let you compute the time so that we can put it up on the screen. Just a reminder that this is not a time for Q&A with council. It's time for council to hear from the public directly and generally, and in conformance with the guidelines already been published. Mr. DeBose, who's the first?
Is that 3 minutes each?
3 minutes each.
Okay, you got that.
Mr. DeBose, who's the first speaker?
3 minutes
Holly
each.
Hawk, AOD.
Ms. Hawk.
I'm Holly Hawk, residing at 616 Red Hawks Road. I told you on January 14th that I was not anti-airport. I also told you that I was not materially affected by the new AOD zoning. Lastly, I told you that my neighbors, my neighborhood, and my quality of life are things I care about deeply. I then asked for the cost-benefit analysis for the articulated $22 million airport improvement project that I could only conclude was a way to get federal and state grants. These grants would benefit a very few people in Kershaw County and have serious financial and quality of life consequences for property owners bordering the airport. I have not asked hard questions, purely operational, financial, and regulation data. On January 19th, again on January 24th, again on January 27th, I have received nothing but silence. So I give up. It's my conclusion that you decided to hire a contractor and incur expenses without any cost-benefit analysis, and you have no intention to share operational, revenue, or expense data that would justify the incurred and future expenses for a historic amenity, landlocked, private plane, and private pilot airport. So I quit. As of yesterday, there's a federal moratorium on all grants. The $1.8 billion surplus in the state has vanished. I would have thought you would have willingly provided information to justify at least the $1.9 million runway lighting rehabilitation project, especially in light of your openly stated mission. I was wrong. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you, Ms. Hawk. Mr. DeBose.
Tom Webb III, litter.
Mr. Webb.
I'm glad to see that some people have stood up for themselves concerning the airport situation and gotten results. I think yesterday was Holocaust Remembrance Day. It's a time when government turned against its people, the Jews in Germany. And they passed some laws, and it made it hard to be a Jew. They passed some more laws, but the Jews were law-abiding people. They figured that they would just abide the laws and everything would be all right. But the laws kept changing until Jews themselves were outlawed, locked up in camps. And you know the rest of the story. But it came really close to happening here. It really did, I think, because when Hillary was running against Trump the first time, she spoke glowingly of fun camps for men. She figured men would be the ones who would resist, and she was going to put them in camps, concentration camps. So we came really close to seeing something dreadful happen here, I think. Anyway, government sometimes screws up, and it seems to be the nature of the beast. And I think you've done it with your litter ordinance. There's some things that have been outlawed that people naturally would have out in the boondocks, in the unincorporated areas of the county, like glassware and crockery and cardboard and cans. It's illegal to have those now. You can get fined $250. But it also gives us certain things. It grants us to have vetting on private property. It's kind of an unusual thing to have in an ordinance. But it goes on to say there's some other things that they're giving us. They're giving us rights, for instance, for yard cleanup litter. So I'm turning it in today. I'm turning some in. It's just my statement. Because if you can give me my rights, you can take them away. And I object. So I'm turning it in. You can't give me rights I already have. I was born with them. So thank you very much.
Mr. Webb, thank you. Mr. DeBose?
Next speaker is Lynn Conto, AOD and the equine community.
Ms. Conto?
My name is Lynn Conto. I live at 1265 Sanders Creek Road, and I'm here to talk about the AOD. I want to thank you for considering different amendments to the AOD, one of which I hope will be removing the horse and other equine production, fishing, hunting, trapping, and game preserve from not permitted to conditional use. This was a wise decision, but permitted would be wiser. And I appreciate the thoughts of implementing conditional terms to support activities for agriculture. I want to praise you for considering to permit pasture grazing in zones B1 and B2. I want to thank you for allowing conditional use for equestrian facilities in zone B1 and B2, but I'm still concerned for my equestrian property owner friends who have properties in Zone A, such as houses, barns, paddocks, pastures, and pools. This will drastically impact their property use and value. This affects more than just the value, it affects our image in Camden, South Carolina. I'm imploring you to consider conditional terms for Zone A or grandfather these farms as part of a safe equine facility and not being misused and reconditioned for something else. I request that the grandfather clause be included with any sale of the property for future equine owners. And if you are unable to agree with this option, please contact these owners and consider compensating them with a fair market value based on the equine property appraisal conducted by an appraiser familiar with the equine area prior to our discussion of the airport overlay. I believe that separating rangeland grazing from pasture grazing may solve some of our issues because we don't have rangeland grazing in that area. Pasture grazing could be conditional. These two items technically really aren't the same or lumped in one area. I would also like a written guarantee in the future from the county that they will not impact the kennels of the Camden Hunt, the Camden Hunt Clubhouse, the Camden Hunter Barn, and all private barns, hobby farms, personal barns along Red Fox Road and Dicey Creek Road that are part of Hunt Country. This will ensure the confidence of the equine community and from our county council. The Farmland Protection Policy Act of 1981 requires evaluation of farmland conversion to non-agricultural use. The farmland can be prime farmland, unique farmland, or very beneficial to local importance. And in this case, that would apply. Finally, I must reiterate the need for an equine overlay for Kershaw County and the city of Camden. I would encourage you to consider suggesting a joint task force to protect the valuable attractions of Kershaw County. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Gonto. Mr. DeBose.
Next speaker is Mike Burgott, AOD, or Burkett, sorry. Burkott, okay. All good.
Mr. Burkott.
Hi, I'm Mike Burkott. I'm at 1325 Sanders Creek Road. My opinion is that the AOD is about 20 to 30 years too late to put these controls in place. It has not yet been proven that the money invested in the airport will provide a rate of return that will benefit the citizens of Camden or Kershaw County, much less the residents who live in vicinity of the airport, who have their life savings invested in their forever homes, and will be impacted by these too late land use controls. If this were a city or county pool like any other amenity, as the airport was described last week during an open Q&A, and a pool required heavy investment of limited funds and resources, the county would shutter that pool in a heartbeat. There is no long-term plan for this airport. Why should we invest in it? If the airport is not self-sustaining and there is no long-term business plan for the airport beyond periodic upkeep, why should homeowners, farm owners, and families around the airport and those surrounding properties be gravely impacted by an amenity? The talking point, the airport brings $7 million in revenue, is using data that is about 8 years old and is woefully out of date to be used as justification for such a large capital investment of public funds and impacts the people of Camden and Kershaw County who work and play in this airport overlay district. I recommend a couple courses of action. The county investigate the divestiture of the airport and move to close it if it is that in unsafe of a condition. Only make improvements to one runway and make it a single strip runway, therefore reducing costs. Finally, I recommend the council table all motions involving the AOD and repeal Kershaw County Ordinance 116, TAC 2024, until it is considered whether the airport is assessed for its long-term impact or benefit to the residents of Camden and Kershaw County as a whole, and not as just a convenient amenity for relatively select few airport users. I know you can press forward with the AOD, but it's not a matter of if you can. The question is, should you? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Burkott. Mr. DeBose.
Linda Knitzer, AOD.
What was the last name?
Knitzer.
Cancer. Ms. Cancer. Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Chairman Connell, council members. Oh my gosh. How could we ever imagine that things could get so messed up and people could become so upset as big government has created by involvement in Kershaw County issues? Specifically, the airport overlay plan and threats to the equine property owners. I'm not blaming you guys. If some of the proposed plans were to take effect, first, who would be responsible for its enforcement? The Kershaw County Gestapo animal control agents? needed to patrol the areas in question, looking in barns and paddocks and pastures and talking to neighbors about how many horses occupy those properties and how long those horses have been there? What's next? Guess what? Not far from here, we have burros, emus, llamas, goats. What's next on the list? Are they going to have a directory? What is and isn't allowed, and then we'd have to go and check them all out, how long they've been there? Secondly, what qualifies as a horse occupying a property? Many have lived 20 or 30 years on a farm, died, and were buried there. There may be hundreds of horses buried within the airport overlay area. If y'all remember Roy Rogers, his last trigger, when it died, he actually took it to a taxidermist and had it stuffed so they could put it in the Roy Rogers Museum. Hey, maybe some of our property owners, their last horse, just take it to a taxidermist, put it back on the property. Does that qualify? Third, who's going to be responsible for explaining to the local feed suppliers, tack room vets, and others that Kershaw County's equine population has decreased, along with their revenues, because of this government intrusion on our local economy? Ridiculous, you say? Absolutely. Let's get this right. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cancer. Mr. DeBose,
Robin Fuchs.
what was the last name? I didn't hear it.
Fuchs.
Ms. Fuchs, please.
Hello, all. My name is Dr. Robin Fuchs. I am a new family medicine provider in the community. And to be completely forthright, while living at 147 Hunt Trace here in Camden, am new to learning about this airport overlay thing. I don't have a lot of suggestions because, again, I'm new to it. However, I will say that my whole reasoning for bringing my practice here to Camden was because of the horses. I moved here to my fabulous farm to learn more about the hunt, to learn more about the steeplechase that we have here, to learn more about the rich community of horses where I can feel a part, and not only feel a part of the horse community, but feel a part of the medical community as well. I feel as providing such an important thing as primary care here, how are we taking away not just my love of something that I do to get away from my medicine, being my horses, but other people's as well. I think that we can bring this down, don't get me wrong, to dollars and dimes, but so much of this is the love that people have here. I mean, I'm sorry, isn't the airfield called the Ernest Woodward Airfield? And wasn't he an equestrian? Maybe I read wrong, I'm not sure. But I also believe he brought about the Springdale race course. Am I wrong about that too? So we have somebody here who brought about this airfield and the race course, and it all boils down to having this passion for horses. That's what this town is built upon. That's why I moved here. That's why my husband, who's also a physician, moved here. Please, feel free to look us up. I am thrilled to be here. But if the horses go, I may too. And I would hate to do that, not just to the community, to my patients, but to the medical facilities here at large. I really do love it here. I've been here only 6 months and have found myself falling in love with this community. Day in and day out, I am surprised by the strength here, especially around the horses. Please, I beg of you, while I may not have a bunch of suggestions here, don't take this away. I think that you've heard many of great suggestions from my counterparts here. Please listen. I really do implore you.
Thank you, Dr. Fuchs. Welcome to the area. Mr. DeBose.
Next speaker is Chris Renfro, county staff.
Mr. Renfro.
Good afternoon. Most of y'all know me. This is probably one of the hardest talks I've ever had to do. Don't like talking negative. I think we have a lot of negative in this county, but I do want to give my side of a story. Don't even know where to start, but, you know, again, I wish I could come up here and talk about good things, because Lord knows we all hear a lot of negative. In 2020, my family and I started the burdensome task of opening a campground here in Kershaw County. This is supposed to be an exciting and rewarding, especially considering that our campground's busy. County Council helped us change 2 ordinances that was detrimental to new campgrounds, and we met a lot of great people along the way. But all that's done is quite the opposite. During the construction phase, I've had numerous encounters with staff that were not what any citizen of this county should have to experience. For starters, the wrongful accusations from people of this county staff accusing my family of frivolous issues during construction only made things harder. Some of the things that caused was extra DHEC inspections, extra stormwater inspections, and clearly the county tried their best to throw the book at us to keep us, what I presume, from opening. So during the construction phase, we also had a building official who I feel broke the law, trespassing on my 20 acres when he went past my front door to the back side of my personal property to do as he pleased. If you fast forward, I was hoping most of this was behind us because we're open, but I recently went to the planning office to get an unrelated permit on October 30th. And that's where I made a complaint because I didn't want that building official to come back to my property. Very next morning, 10:30, I get an email that an employee drove by and there's all kind of violations on my personal property and or business property. I've tried working with the county for 3 months to come up with a reasonable solution. I don't think we've came up with one yet. The county is asking that my families fork out over $30,000, $40,000 to fix an issue, which has never been an issue. The side of that property has been a dirt pile for 20 years. It's loose dirt on top of loose dirt. The notice of violation that was sent to me quotes the Sediment Control Runoff Act. Well, what they failed to mention, 2 sentences above the quotes that they gave me of what I'm in violation of, it does clearly state that agriculture properties are exempt from these stormwater runoff requirements. When I asked that question to staff, I was told that we never assume that a property is agriculture. Well, my property is called the Renfro Ranch, and the Renfro Ranch campground on the other side. I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to figure out I'm agriculture. And I get an email saying we're simply helping you get in compliance. I think that's quite the opposite. I feel like I've been targeted. I have numerous emails here with me if you would like to see them. They show where the county has tried to do everything it could to shut my project down.
Mr. Renfro?
They sent several agents after me, 10 seconds.
Yeah, I like to give people a little extra time to wrap up if they can.
Gotcha. The director of this department called me a "don't tread on me" wackadoo. The director of this department also said I have an erroneous disregard for regulation. The director of this department also quoted that I am a liar and I should apologize to his staff for jerking them around for 3 months. Please tell me again how this is not targeting a citizen for their own personal vendetta. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Renfro. Mr. DeBose, who's next?
Next speaker is Melissa Rice,
Mr. Renfro, I want a copy of that email.
Airport Overlay District in Hunt Country.
Ms. Rice. Do we have Ms. Rice?
I'm just going to say that
You echo the prior comments?
I echo the prior comments.
I suspected there's many like-minded folks in the crowd.
I want it known that I do echo them. I want it known that I am the husband.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah,
she
if-
needs to come
if-
to the mic because the people that's
One
listening
second. So
cannot, the people that are listening cannot hear what she's saying
Mr.
on the
Jones, certainly, I
YouTube.
understand that. So if you're not waiving your comment request, come on up and speak in the mic, please.
I'm Melissa Rice. I reside at.
You're going to have to lift it up a little bit for you.
I have to reside at, I reside at 704 Red Fox Road. I'm the huntsman for the Camden Hunt. I have also, at one point, managed the Camden Hunter Barn across the street, And at all this time, we have peacefully coexisted with the airport without any problems with the horses or the airport or the district, and I second and echo the previous comments.
Thank you, Ms. Rice. Mr. DeBose.
Next speaker is Greg Giards. I will, out of respect, I will not attempt to pronounce the last name. It's just not.
We'll
It's not
let
well written either.
Mr. Gregg share his name. Yes, Mr. Gregg, what's your name?
Greshak.
Greshak.
Yes.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
My name is Greg Greshak, and I live on Red Fox Road. Airport and horse farms coexisted for over 50 years. I'm sure during that time there were modifications done to the airport without restrictions being applied on the horse farms. So why is it now, and why? Number one, from what I understand, one of the worries is horses attract birds, and birds are dangerous to the airplanes. While birds can be dangerous to the airplanes, study done by FFA, which you can read on their website, states, and I quote, specific to U.S., wildlife strikes with civilian and military aircraft have killed 76 people and destroyed 126 aircraft from 1988 to 2023, end of quote. As you can see, whoever came up with this silly reasoning for restriction didn't really know what they were talking about. There are more people that die in car accidents, 962 in South Carolina in 2024, cars colliding with deer, 39,000 claims. Horse farms are not the threat to the airplanes. And number two, AOD draft imposes restrictions for groups of over 50 on public assembly uses, such as concerts or large events, particularly in safety critical zones like A and B1. Our Camden Hunt Clubhouse, which is in Zone C, and its activities would fall under conditional use 5, which restricts indoor use intensity to 15 or fewer people per acre, and outdoor gatherings to 50 or fewer people per acre. How does it make sense? When you look on the other side of the airport, right off the Highway 1, and right there we have a military academy that backs up directly to the airport and has, at any given day, 267 students plus 39 professors and support staff. At one of the previous meetings, gentlemen stated regarding relocating Irish Festival, which will be held at the airport grounds or near it. Is it correct? Because if it is, that's a lot of people. How is that safer than a group of riders that gets once a week for a few hours at the time between November and March? And building 300 homes right across from the airport, that's 1,200 plus people in close quarters. And possible church would roughly sit 800 plus people in, and a school in Zone 8, not to mention already existing neighborhoods and businesses. They could look at Southern Landing approach in its B1 and B2 zones, that are hundreds of homes from Broad Street all the way to Kirkwood, which brings me to another point, restrictions on rebuilding our barns if 50% destroyed in zones B1 and B2. Please tell me why. Are the neighborhoods in landing approaches won't be able to rebuild their garages or homes if they get destroyed by natural disaster? Number three, if we don't keep our horses on our farms for a year, we are not allowed to bring our horses back. This one doesn't make sense for many reasons, and one of them is very simple. What if my horse dies and takes me over a year to find another one? What then? We cannot, to me, it sounds like third party has an interest in our properties, and they want to slowly choke us up. We cannot gather in groups, we cannot rebuild our barns, and we cannot bring horses back if they're gone for a year. Looks to me like a slow land grab for
Mr.
future
Greshak?
subdivisions and development.
Mr.
Almost
Greshak,
done.
if you could wrap it up, please.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
What I'm trying to say, it feels like a lot of proposed regulation imposed on horse farms had nothing to do with airport modification and its safety of the aircraft. One good example I can give you is Midway Airport in Chicago. Look it up. If you ever fly into the Midway Airport, you're literally landing in the middle of the city neighborhood, and then only divided between homes and airport is a busy street filled with hundreds of moving vehicles. And here we are in small Camden worried about horse farms. Do you see how ridiculous that sounds? At the end, I'm asking council members to consider removing restrictions on our farms and protect the history of horse community in Camden, since Camden was built on it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. DeBose, I think this is Speaker number 9,
Oh, this is the final speaker.
or number 10, go ahead.
Correct. Craig Thompson, AOD.
Mr. Thompson.
Good evening. My name is Craig Thompson. I'm the pastor at Malvern Hill Baptist Church in East Camden. I want to thank you all for the time you've put into this issue. Many have spoken here tonight already about the AOD's impact on the equine community and all of East Camden, so I'll restrict my comments to Malvern Hill. We at Malvern Hill are interested in all that happens in our community because we desire to see a healthy and flourishing Kershaw County and East Camden. Further, we are interested in this particular meeting and these recommendations because they impact us acutely as a church body. Malvern Hill is one of, if not the largest churches in our county. We've experienced growth, and as a result, we need to create space, especially for our children's ministry and our growing ministry to those with special needs. In the initial form of the proposal presented to Planning and Zoning, or the Planning and Zoning Commission regarding the airport district, Malvern Hill would have been prohibited from building on our property in the future. I'm grateful for the amendments to the ordinance that should allow our nearly 100-year-old church to continue to serve our growing community into the future, and I ask you as members of council to support these amendments so that our church, which has existed in East Camden nearly as long as the airport has, can continue to thrive. I come before you to make certain that this information is public, to make sure that the community is fully aware of how these decisions would impact our 94-year-old church and the lives it impacts, and to request County Council to support the amendments proposed by the Planning and Zoning Commission. These adjustments to the Airport Overlay District proposal should enable the airport to continue to fulfill its purpose while allowing Malvern Hill, along with many of these other folks that have spoken, to do the same. The airport is an important resource in our community, but it isn't the only resource. Malvern Hill and the nearly 600 people who attend our church each month should be valued as much as the airport, and I trust council will make the right decision tonight to show they value both resources equally. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Gentlemen, that concludes public comments. The next item on our agenda is item number 6A, Library Community Health Worker Update. Do we have a motion?
Make a motion that we have public presentation for the library community health.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? It's unanimous, Ms. Hannah. Yes, ma'am. Director Schofield. Who do you have with you? Oh, thank you.
I have Emma Wibbler. We're going to mostly be talking about all the good work that she's been doing.
Can you bring the mic down just a little bit?
Sure. How's that?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. That is a difference. So a bit of a vibe change. We're here to talk about something that I'm very excited about and proud of, and I also think that it's something you might not know that much about. The library social work program has been in existence since 22. I came and presented on it long ago. We've still been there doing that good work, but I think it's very important now to talk about some of the new changes, Emma being primary among them. She's joined us for about 6 months, doing amazing work. Feels like she's been here much longer. You might not be aware of the work that we're doing, trying to help those who are the most vulnerable in our community. I'm proud of that particularly because I know as a human being, when I see someone who's suffering, which we often do much too often in this community, my immediate thought is, what kind of help can they get? Who's able to help them? Are they just out here on their own? What's their situation? With the social work program that we've been doing at the library, we've become deeply entrenched in that work. So by virtue of the library being involved in this, I think you should know the county is also involved in this, which gives me a sense of comfort knowing that while there are not resources out there for everyone, there are certainly people who are actively involved and trying as hard as they can to make sure that the people who need help are getting it to the best of their ability and meeting them where they are, and being effective and efficient and collaborating. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about what Emma does as our community health worker, and then also why I think the library is well positioned for this. So first of all, this is not unprecedented. Libraries helping people who need it the most is not something that we thought of. It's something that's been going on for probably a dozen years now, usually in larger cities, but the USC Center for rural and primary health care was the initial funder of this. They've been helping us for about 4 years now. The county stepped up and helped some with this this year, this current budget year. The idea with this is that it tapers off slowly. They're giving us support, as they have for about 7 other counties in the state, with the idea that public libraries are very well positioned to improve the health of their communities. We do that in different ways. What Emma does as a community health worker, one of the most important things is that she works with people individually. She's offering people who are facing evictions, whatever options are available to them, working them through that. People who are suffering from medical conditions where their bills are astronomical, prescription drugs, which, as we all know, can be extremely expensive. Working with people who are taking care of family members and are overly burdened with that and not sure what they can do and how they can accommodate that. Working with people who cannot afford food. So there's a myriad of issues that we know are out there. There are resources that are out there. Matching those to the individuals, helping them out, is a large part of what she's done and continues to do. So in the first, she started seeing people in October. Over the first 3 months, she's helped over 50 people. She's going to talk in a little bit about some of the cases that she's seen. I think a library is particularly well-positioned for this type of things because, first of all, we are a friendly place. And one of the most important things about our library is that our mission is compassion. And it's really not, I support this wholeheartedly, but I have to give credit to my staff. Even before we had the social work program, everyone is greeted with dignity. Everyone is greeted with respect. The staff that I have on board help people to the best of their ability. Before we had someone like Emma on board, there were often things that were left unanswered. Creates a great deal of stress. No one wants to see people suffer. So having someone on staff like Emma who can sit down with someone, see where they are, try to make as best a fit as possible, and work with them if they need it on an ongoing basis to create a sense of self-sufficiency and also support with them. It's a great thing for our staff. I broaden that to say it's a great thing for the community to have something like that. So libraries are not bureaucratic places. We're friendly. We're open to the public. There's not a stigma when you go into the library and seek help. Word of mouth has gotten out there. People who were already library patrons are using us. Other people have heard about it. And then also, we're not in competition with other people who are providing services in this community. We work together. I think Emma is an amazing collaborator, an amazing networker. We are not proprietary in the type of work that we do. We really do have a sense of a broader mission. Our goal is to help make the resources that we have, which are not unending and don't meet the need, but to make them as efficient as possible. To that end, we have collaborated a lot. Emma has infiltrated every group that she can in Kershaw County, Impact, Live Well, the housing partnerships. She's working very closely with people from the United Way and other groups. New things are happening, great things are happening. I think we're in a position where there's a lot of positive movement, where we're looking for solutions. And so to that end, I think in your packet you saw the letter of support, just to show that we're not isolated. Mara Jones, some of you are familiar with Mara from
I know her.
You might know her. We couldn't forge her signature. I said, Emma, you got to get that one. He's going to know. Charlotte Rankin from the medical clinic, Donnie Suplee, Judge Random. These are all people that refer people to us and are supportive of the work. I think that speaks to the idea that we're not in competition. We don't want to be in competition. We want to be effective and efficient and work together collaboratively. Emma's been forming new groups with other case managers, trying to come up with solutions to some of the issues that we're seeing in this county. One of the things that she's done, sort of her training when she came on board, was to go in deep with a resource directory that we had already created. That was in your packet as well. And I'll point out the website that we have up here. This is the new website for the resources that we offer with the community health worker. The resource guide is now online. So if you noticed it in your packet, there's about 60 different agencies, each of which Emma's reached out to find out specifically what they do, many of whom we work with very closely. So it's a very exhaustive resource directory that didn't exist before. Now that it's online, it can be updated in the moment, and also it's available to our partners who we learned to rely on it. A lot of people have it up in their offices and make notes and use it. And then also for the general public as well. There's also food calendars that you'll see on the website that Emma's put together. Those are divided into 3 different regions: Camden, Elgin, and Lugoff, and also the North Central area. There are places where you can find food almost every day, whether that's a food pantry or Food for the Soul or other soup kitchens. So laying that out and mapping that out has been a very nice way to make it easily accessible. That's what we're trying to do, to make it easy and accessible. And why libraries? That's what libraries do. Libraries have always been places that put together information where people go for knowledge. They're not using us anymore to find out what the capital of Idaho is. But if it were simple to navigate these types of resources, if it was simple to just go somewhere and find out all the nuances that you need when you're dealing with really high prescription costs and you don't have insurance and you might be living in your car, this can be a very overwhelming process. So I think Emma does an amazing job of giving people the support they need for this sometimes complex guidance. I will turn it over to Emma at this point and let her talk a little bit. I think also I want to preface the 50 or so clients that she's seen so far mirror closely the types of issues that we're dealing with in the county as a whole. So I think what I said to her is like, you're really doing folks a favor, so don't be too nervous because it's good information. We need to know what types of things we're facing.
So I just wanted to break down some of the things that are shown in this infographic that's in your packet, which describes in a little more detail some of the issues that I see on a day-to-day when working one-on-one with clients. So first off, with health and insurance, as you can see, as it's 46%, almost half of the clients, which is based off that 52 number, have faced an issue, whether it's with insurance coverage or something with their medical care. And this kind of comes down to even just understanding Medicaid, Medicare, the insurance marketplace. If they're uninsured or underinsured, where they can go to get affordable care, free care, sliding scale care, or applying for free medications. As Amy said, they can be extremely expensive for folks. So I can help them find the direction they need to go and how to start some of those processes. I think it's really important also to think about the support systems. Many of us are very lucky and privileged to have a strong support system to lean on, but unfortunately that is not the case for everyone. One of my most prevalent clients, she lost her vision due to a medical condition. From there, she lost her job because she was not able to work without her sight, and she tried to make ends meet. Things spiraled out of control, and she eventually was evicted from not being able to pay her rent. So for myself, being very lucky to have a support system, if I were in a situation like that where I couldn't work, I have family to depend on to help me financially if that were to come to the case. Many people do not have that privilege, and that can be a result of what separates us from someone on the street who is really struggling, is only not having that support system. So looking into housing, people deal with evictions, struggling to find affordable housing, or they're already homeless. They're living on the street. They're living in their car. One of my clients that is living in his car, unfortunately, housing is not a problem we can solve overnight. As much as I wish I could snap my fingers and have a place to put him, it just doesn't work like that. So not being able to solve those issues doesn't mean we aren't still providing services. I'm able to give him ongoing support, offer some hope for him, and check in regularly with him every few days. And you can tell that it really helps them to know they're not going through one of the most challenging times in their life completely alone. And they have someone to depend on and someone to lean on and help them guide them through the situation that they're in. As for food insecurity, I can apply for clients for SNAP benefits and help connect them to the food distributions in the area. Our county does a phenomenal job with food distributions. There's tons of organizations and churches that provide food to community members. As Amy said about the food calendars, there's tons all over the place, and that just helps it be clearer for those who are looking for food to pick a day wherever they're at in the area and be able to find somewhere that they can go to get a meal. As for that, it kind of comes into the transportation barriers of if someone is homebound or they do not have accessible transportation, if they're not able to get to the grocery or get to some of these transportations, they do not have access to that food. I see people who struggle with getting to the doctor's office, getting to the grocery, or even getting to work every day, that they just do not have transportation. Us being in a rural area, we're just not set up for public transportation. Luckily, we have the van service, which is an amazing, amazing service, and I want to thank you for supporting it because it is so invaluable for our community. I send people there all the time. However, with that, there are limitations to it. It books up very, very quickly. It's not able to be used for someone who needs it more frequently, like getting to work. And also, they have to schedule out very far in advance to make sure that it doesn't book up. If they have a doctor's appointment pop up on short notice, they might not be able to use that service. Another big part of my position is kind of researching and digging into opportunities and options we may not know of initially for clients. I have a client who is homeless and was just diagnosed with cancer, so we've been looking into options for transportation for him to be able to get to these appointments, and we found after some research that the American Cancer Society can help with transportation to and from cancer-related appointments. So sometimes it's a matter of just kind of digging for some unconventional options we might not use every day. And lastly, for financial hardship, of course, this kind of intertwines with a lot of the other issues. I'm able to refer clients and help them navigate different financial organizations like Christian Community Ministries, CARE, and Watery Community Actions. They're all really great organizations that can provide a lot of help. However, with them, there's also limitations. Sometimes they have limited funds to be able to give out for people, and there are certain qualifications to be able to get assistance that not everyone fits into. So as for that, for affordable clothing, furniture, I'm also able to direct clients in the right direction to find different thrift stores and through the Habitat for Humanity to get supplies. I have vouchers for certain places, and we always have essential products and hygiene supplies on hand for our clients who need them. So overall, it's really important for me to be able to address these challenges holistically and recognize that they're all interconnected, whether it's housing, health, food, transportation, and having financial stability. They're all essential for someone to be successful. For me, it's not only about being able to provide the support of offering physical resources to someone, but also the emotional support. Just knowing that someone is in their corner, checking in with them every few days, helping them guide them through the process, providing them resources and encouragement, giving them a new perspective on the situation that they're in is really important to help them regain that stability and gain that self-sufficiency to help them to build a better future. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
So just in quick closing, I do want everyone, I hope everyone feels a sense of appreciation that the library, and then that means the county, is enmeshed in these issues that are so important to us. What I'm particularly excited about is the momentum in this, that we can work together. One of the reasons I love and have, since I moved here in 2008, I was impressed with the level of caring and compassion that we have. We might be, financially secure with a lot of things, but there is so much passion and compassion in this county among the different groups that want to deeply help. And so I think I'm very fortunate and grateful to be a part of that, and I'm looking forward to creating new solutions.
Question?
Yes, sir.
Or comment, maybe. I just want to say we're very fortunate to have you, Amy. Appreciate all you do, and I really mean it. And Emma, welcome. I think we've met prior to this. Mara Horton-Jones and I very rarely discuss any politics because she can't realize I'm right most of the time. But I'm going to tell you something. She absolutely thinks this is a great program. I think it's a great program. I thank you for what you're doing, and you've got the support of a lot of folks.
Thank you.
Emma,
Mr.
thank
Chairman.
you.
Yeah, any other communication from council?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I'd like to invite you, Emma. You know, when we do finance committee, there's a portion of our finance committee where we have outside agencies come in, talk about their funding needs. I think it'd be a really good opportunity. I know you probably met some of those people, but to sort of hear kind of the nuances of how they work. One of the things I see you do is kind of help. One of the things that's always difficult is when you have multiple agencies that have overlapping missions, there's really not the one cog, and it seems like you could serve that kind of role. So it may be helpful. I just wanted to extend that invitation. If you get with Lauren Reeder or Ms. Hannah, they'll be able to get you the meetings that we'll be discussing those particular entities, and I just think it could be helpful for you and those entities. So, yeah.
Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead. Yes, sir, Mr. Tucker.
Thank you. Hello, Miss Amy.
Hey.
How are you doing?
Good.
Good. Miss Emma, I've heard nothing but just great things and accomplishments in your short term here, which is about 6 months almost. And I would say welcome first, great work second. it's good to be young and full of energy and smart and bright. I used to be there one day, but I've lost that. I'm getting old and am wiser, but not as much energy. With that, there is a program with the Santee Lynch's COG on the Veterans Ride that should help you some on transportation. And I would like to also just get you with myself and the director and see if there's other means we can do with transportation, because we struggle real bad in the rural region with transportation. So I think you're knocking it out of the park on your other collaborations, and greatly appreciate that. And that lady you standing next to is full of a lot of information and wisdom. Just follow her lead and continue to keep that passion and drive, because the library is a place where it's a safe haven for some where they go. And so you can make those connections. And what was good to hear is that you're making them one-on-one, because everybody is not open with their problems. A lot of people are very private because they're prideful. And we all got certain pride that we carry. With that being said, you're able to, break that down. So I thank you guys for what you do. And you'll be proud of me. And I need you to do a favor for me, Miss Amy. I went up about 2 weeks ago, but my little library card thing fell off my keychain. Nope.
Oh, okay. You lost your library card.
Yes, ma'am. But I was a responsible council member and went back and renewed it. And that young man that helped me was nothing but a blessing.
Oh.
Smiles, mannerism, just kind. I can't remember his name, so I'm not going to make up a name. But those are the type people that you employ because of who you are, and we greatly appreciate that. And so for my colleagues that sitting up here, because they're all young, they need library cards.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Tucker. Any further comments?
I'd like to offer congratulations. It was a very nice presentation. The work you do, I can tell it's from your heart, and you giving it your all. So thanks for being a part of Kershaw County. And Amy, thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Brazel. Ladies, thank you very much for your presentation. Appreciate it. All right, gentlemen, that takes us to item number 6B, Law Enforcement Officers Memorial. Is there a motion?
I make a motion that we have this public presentation on the law enforcement memorial.
Mr. Shoemaker, is there a second? Mr. Cato, I heard Mr. Cato. Sheriff Bone, come on up, please. Let's go ahead and take a vote while he's walking up. All in favor? Nobody tells you no, Sheriff, right? It's unanimous, Ms. Hannah, it passes. Sheriff Bone, go ahead.
This is going to be pretty much a follow-up from our last meeting back in, we had Police Memorial Day in May of last year. We talked about starting a memorial here in Kershaw County. First time it's ever been done. So what we've done is we've just to point out here, this is Officer Robert Latta. He's the first officer killed in the line of duty in Kershaw County history. This was last week when we had our snow day, back on the 22nd. That marked the 106th anniversary of when he was killed in the line of duty. 106 years, and we still don't have a monument here in our county. We can't speak for the people before us who had the opportunity. We can only speak for us now, and we want to go forward with this for the people who's paid that ultimate sacrifice for the citizens of this county. And that's what we're looking forward to do. And I know we had good council support when we presented it last time, and we met some of the family members. Going forward, we picked our board members. We have some of those in here today. Ms. Jeannie Potter's in here. You can stand up for us. And
If you please recognize them, Sheriff.
yes, and then we've got David Tomley's not here, but he's a retired captain. Well, first of all, Ms. Potter, she's the widow of one of our officers that was killed in the line of duty. I just take for granted everybody knows who you are, but I'm going to go ahead and let everybody know. David Tomley, he's a retired Kershaw County Sheriff's Office captain. Harold Brown, the legend himself, a retired Elgin Police Chief. Danny Templer.
Who's that?
He's sitting right in front of us here. It's our county administrator. Daniel Roberts. I don't think Daniel was able to make it tonight, but he's with our Kershaw County delegation. Dolly Patton, I think I saw her come in. She's here with us from the Art Center of Kershaw County. Benji Jackson from our Kershaw County Sheriff's Foundation. He's at the rear with Kathy Zobel, also from the Sheriff's Foundation. If you'll notice, we didn't put any politicians on this list.
That's why my name's not up there?
Nobody up here needs anybody's votes, and nobody up here has any motivation outside of doing what's right for these fallen officers that we want to build this monument for. And that was by purpose, and there's no current sheriff's office members on our board either. We've done that for a reason, to keep this thing non-political and focused on the purpose of doing the right thing for our fallen officers. When we got the group together, we looked through several different monuments to try to get an idea of what we wanted to use, and the group fell in love with Lexington's monument. They built it in 2012. Once they told us that this was the inspiration, this is what they wanted to do here in Kershaw County, they liked everything about it. We reached out to Lexington. Chief Green over at Lexington Police Department, he met with my chief deputy, Rock Coleman, and we all met together one day, and we walked out to the site. We looked at everything, took measurements, and he talked us through their whole process of what they done and some of the things they wish they hadn't done. So he kind of told us what not to do on our project. So we took good notes from him. He shared with us graciously and put us on the right path. We got with a designer at Brown Memorial, and they come up with this design based on, we're going to build it at the front of the sheriff's office because we own the property there, and that's the best place to build it. It can be seen from the road. So he come out and looked at the landscape and decided that instead of straight walls, to go with a rounded type wall. And also shared with him that, unlike Lexington's, where you see the badges on the top, names on the bottom, we wanted to put more focus on the names. So we got our names on the top, the badges on the bottom from all the agencies in the county. The picture on the left is going to be daytime, of course. It's going to be like a black granite. The center is going to be a blue granite around the center. Picture on the right is going to be the nighttime picture of it. There's going to be like a blue light that'll be inside there at nighttime. We also plan on during police week, we're going to have lights outside illuminating it in blue during that week. So you can see that from the road when you pass by the sheriff's office. It's going to be right beside our flagpole. This is looking down on the memorial, what it's going to look like. You'll see, I think I've got a little pointy thing on here, but at the very top, that's going to be the wall, looking straight down. You've got two benches, one on each side, and in the center, the circle piece, you've got a Kershaw County seal. We want it in the center. We don't want anything upright that's going to block the view of the wall, but our centerpiece was going to be the county seal on the ground. Now, I got doing a lot of research on it, and I found out that these aren't free. They don't give them away. So somehow we got to find the money to put it together. The project cost is about $250,000 total. It's about $250,000. We hope to raise more than that because there's going to be maintenance and upkeep involved with anything. We're trying to keep it as low maintenance as possible, and we plan on doing as much of the maintenance we can. But, a bunch of police officers, we're not the smartest around, so I don't know what we're going to be capable of doing ourselves. You'll see the way we got it lined up. The A sponsorship, the diamond sponsorship, is going to be the two benches. You see at the very front of the monument there. Those two benches for a sponsor donation of $25,000 for each one of those. I'm hoping Kershaw County is going to have one of those benches there. Then you'll see the second one is going to be on the ground around the seal, the top donor spots, 10,000 each. There's going to be 8 spots. The silver, there'll be 16 spots immediately around that, and you'll get to the bronze spot for $100 donations. It'll be down, and there'll be a certain number of lettering that can happen. And this is something you can put if you've had a law enforcement officer that's retired, or somebody you want to put in memory of, a parent or something, or if you want to put your name on there, or if you want to put your business name on there. As long as you're bringing the money, I don't care what you put on there, as long as it ain't profanity or anti-police stuff. Then we're looking for funding. And again, we didn't want anything that's going to, we wanted people's names to be out there as part of the monument, but nothing to take away from the officers' names on the monument. So for the donation sponsorships, you will have the opportunity to have your name on this monument that, we hope it's going to be there for a long time and be seen by a lot of people. We'll have our May 15th Peace Officer Memorial Day ceremony there every year on that date, if you want to put it on your calendar. It's not going to be ready this May. We know that. We're shooting for next year, 2026, May 15th, to do our unveiling and hopefully have it up by then. Here's the names of all of our officers that's going to be on the wall. You know, again, starting from the top, you've got Camden Police Officer Robert Latta, January 22nd, 1919. We got a South Carolina State Constable, Jesse Fletcher Bateman, July 17th, 1919, same year. And our first Kershaw County Sheriff's Office deputy, Theodore Ted Turner, whose wife is here with us today. Ms. Turner, if you can stand up for us. And you would. She just definitely does not look her age, but she's the widow of Mr. Ted Turner, who was the first Kershaw County Sheriff's deputy to be killed in the line of duty. We've got our next one is Kershaw County Deputy Sheriff Captain James Eugene Pat Orr. Benji? I think you're the only family member that we have confirmed so far from this deputy. Then we've got, of course, Deputy Sheriff Ernest Christian Chris Potter III. We have his beautiful wife here today. She's our committee member. Then we go down to, we had a Trooper Merle Godbold, Camden Police Officer Eddie Cato. We had Trooper Jonathan Nash, and then we had our final Kershaw County Deputy Sheriff Rob Evans, who his wife Beth is here with us today. So we got our committee and our family members, and we know they're all definitely in support of it. I know County Council, without even asking, I know you guys are all in support of it. They made the ultimate sacrifice for Kershaw County. The least we can do is give them a proper monument. So that's what we're shooting for. And as of right now, I think all of you have some flyers up there. Anybody that wants information can go to kershawsheriff.com, our website. We have some pull-down menus for the monument, which you can go in. And we're still trying to work out how to pay online with tracking everything and not having to pay 3 or 4% or whatever fee to it. So for now, we've got, you can either mail or come by the sheriff's office with a check. We have a form you can fill out, how you want your name put on the monument. And that's the way we're going to handle that until we can come up with the electronic means. And that's all I have.
Thank you very much for the presentation, Sheriff. Council members, Mr. Tucker.
Thank you. Sheriff, this is a subject that I think people don't ever want to be discussing, but what is the growth of that monument for the future? Not that I want to add to it, but.
Yeah,
so,
well,
yeah.
I mean, you're stating the obvious. We all know it's inevitable, and we hope this is going to be up for a long time, and that's the kind of things when you put the badge on, Sammy, you've done it before yourself as a trooper, so we know there's probably going to be more names in the future, but there will be room for it in the future, and there'll be other ways we can build on to the monument as far as putting like an awning over the top if we want to try to weatherproof it or anything else. But this is like this is the base of what we want to create. It'll go right in front of the sheriff's office, and we'll have parking spaces that we'll clear out for the memorial each year, line up some chairs, so this will be a good location, and it's going to be the best place for it.
Well, I want to say thank you for standing behind your word. You said that this is something that was dear and near to your heart that you wanted to do, and it's coming to fruition, and I appreciate all the work and time that you and your staff has put into this, and I know that I'll be contributing personally, and if I can get my other two colleagues on the finance committee to.
We only got 2 benches now, so I've got to fight over which 2 of them benches y'all going to be.
Oh, we were doing bricks.
Yeah, I definitely know everybody on council supports this.
Sheriff, I have a comment I want to make. Thank you.
Mr. Tucker, you done?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Mr. Jones, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you so much for what you're doing here. I knew some of these folks who have passed on and gave them the ultimate sacrifice. And before I retired, when we were doing the transfer of the jail from the old jail to the new jail, there was a book. It was a book that everybody signed to get their citation book. I've got Chris Potter's signature. I've got back to 1951, the sheriff who was it. I picked that book out of that trash can. I kept it in my house, but it doesn't belong to me. It belongs to you folks. But I didn't want to take it somewhere where it would get lost in the back room, because this book has got signatures of all the, except the one, all these fallen officers and other folks who have served throughout this county through years. But as I said, that was something, when I took it, I never intended to keep it because it doesn't belong to Jimmy Jones, it belongs to the people of Kershaw County. And I'd like to present that to you. I don't want any pictures giving it to you or anything. I just want to give it to you one day this week when I see you, with the promise, if you will, standing there, that you will make that book a part some way. I know this man right down here, our vice chair, volunteered to build a case for it. So I'd like to ask you if you could consider that. I'll be glad to give it to you this coming week.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Make sure it's displayed.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Any other council members have comments? Mr. Cato.
Sheriff, I just want to tell you I'm very proud of the work y'all have done, and I want to thank the committee, the committee members that serve on this committee. I know it takes time away from their families and their daily responsibilities to meet and take their time out of their daily schedule, and I just want to thank them for doing this. As a retiree, it really hits home when you see names of fallen officers, even if you go over to police memorial over at the State House or wherever you go, it just touches you. It's kind of like a military wall of honor. It touches you because you know the sacrifice that they gave and the sacrifice that their families have gave through the years. So I just want to thank you. I think it's beautiful. I don't think you could have done any better job, and I look forward to supporting this.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cato. Any other comments?
Mr. Chair, I just want to echo Councilman Tucker's comments that when we get into the Finance Committee, Sheriff will certainly address this, and I'm certain we'll be coming back with a recommendation to assist. I just appreciate the work you've done, and again, it's good to see you, Ms. Potter, Chief Brown. Ms. Brown, it's good to see you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Shoemaker. Any other comments?
Chief Brown is a legend.
Yeah.
We already knew that.
Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Brazel.
if I may, to all the family members that are here in the audience tonight, God bless you, and we hope to memorialize your family, and we hope that this brings you peace and hope in your situation. Each one of your situations is different, so I just want to say God bless you. And Sheriff Bone, as always, nice to have you here tonight. Excellent job honoring these fallen heroes. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments? I'll just comment that I think this is a very worthy project. I support it. Sheriff, I've already pledged, and I expect you to be hitting me up soon to donate. And I believe it's tax deductible. We'll have the attorney confirm that, but I think it's a tax deductible. If you need any other motivation, it's tax deductible, I believe, as a donation to a government entity. And so we should be hitting up businesses, individuals, everybody to make it happen. It's not only a tribute to those who have passed away. Some of you have actually borne the risk of going out and putting yourself, interacting with criminals or folks who might want to do you harm. Some of us have jobs where my kids are certain I'm going to come home pretty much every night. So it's an honor to those who have passed away, but it's also a vicarious honor to those who live on after them. We just did a resolution, as you recall, for Ms. Potter. She was up here pretty recently with a room full of family supporting her. And so it's a recognition and honor for her. And Ms. Turner, who I'm sure has had a huge impact in the community after the passing of her loved one, and Benji as well. And so I think it's worthy on many levels, and it shows what Kershaw County is made of. If there's no further comments, thank you very much for the presentation, Sheriff. All right, gentlemen, that takes us to item 6C. I'll seek a motion that we have this approved for public presentation. The motion will also include suspension of Rule 2 under Appendix 2, that we have more than 2 public presentations per meeting.
Mr. Chair, I'd make the motion that we allow this public presentation and suspend the rules so this public presentation can go forward.
Thank you for the motion. Second.
I yield to the vice chair.
Second the motion.
Mr. Brazel's got the second. All right, no discussion, we'll call it for a vote. All in favor? Ms. Hannah, it's unanimous for the record. Yes, sir, we have Mr. Adams. Okay.
Yes.
Mr. Scott Adams for Sterilite Technologies Limited. Yes, sir, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of council. My name is Scott Adams. I am the Corporate Secretary and General Counsel for Sterilite Technologies, Inc., which is located in the county's Heritage Business Park. With me tonight back here is Mr. Gehinanath Shinde, who has recently relocated here and assumed the role of plant manager for our Kershaw County fiber optic plant, which we call our Palmetto plant. And our Palmetto plant is not only Sterilite's principal U.S. manufacturing site, but it is also our North American headquarters as well. Many companies call Kershaw County their home, but not all of them, in fact, very few of them can say they are a North American headquarters. Our highly engineered fiber optic cable products, and there's one that oh, probably, yeah, there it is. This is what we make over there. And there are some samples that we've given that can be distributed to you. These are shipped throughout North America and even the world. As we like to say, Sterilite is in America for America. In fact, the cable samples that you will see say, made in Kershaw County, South Carolina, USA. Needless to say, we're proud to say that Kershaw County is our home. As we conclude another year of operations, we want to again say thank you to Council for your investment and support of our operations. Your county team, from Jeff Burgess, who, having worked in economic development for many years, I can say he's truly a world-class economic development professional, to his staff, Paige Clack, to the permitting and zoning professionals, the county administrator and his office, the fire department, certainly the sheriff's department, and all others with whom we work on a daily and weekly basis are nothing short of outstanding. And to you and them, we give our utmost thanks and appreciation. When Sterilite came to Kershaw County not that many years ago, we promised to create 120 new full-time jobs with full benefits by 2026. We have met and we have far exceeded that goal. Our financial investment commitments, including for the FILO, which we were to achieve by 2026 and 2028, have already been exceeded. This is the result of our dedicated Kershaw County employees and their families. We will tell, and I will tell anyone, anywhere, that an investment in Kershaw County is an investment in fine education facilities, skilled employees, great infrastructure, safety, a world-class fire and sheriff's team, and dedicated and supportive county officials and staff. And I have done that on several occasions in the past year.
I could jump out of my seat and carry you around the room. That is exactly what we're seeking in Kershaw County. Sorry to interrupt you, but amen.
That's okay. And if I and our team can help you with recruiting businesses, please call on me, call on us. We'd be more than happy to do that. Jeff Burgess knows that, and I'll make this offer to you. It's a 24/7. We will go anywhere. We will help do whatever we can to grow our economic base in Kershaw County. In the past year, talk about economic development, our employees have purchased new construction and existing houses in Kershaw County. They've leased apartments. They've purchased cars. The Lugoff car dealership is probably doing very well because of our employees. They shop daily at Kershaw County businesses. They eat in our restaurants. They buy gas in our gas stations. In fact, our delivery trucks fuel at the Kershaw County gas stations and our national and international visitors stay in Kershaw County hotels. Sterlite hires local contractors wherever possible, whenever possible, in furtherance of our purchasing philosophy, which is shopping Kershaw County first, and then we go to the Midlands, we go to South Carolina, we look at the southeastern U.S., and then we go nationally and then internationally. But we always try to source Kershaw County first. Again, Sterlite is not only in America for America, but we're in Kershaw County for America. We're for South Carolina and for North America. As an update to what Mr. Shindy and we are doing at our facility, you may be aware that Congress has authorized the expenditure of $42.4 billion, that's billion with a B, to connect over 25 million American households, businesses, and schools with high-speed internet. South Carolina has been allocated more than $550 million from this program, with disbursements anticipated to commence sometime this year. At Sterlite, our goal is to bring as much of that federal and state spend to Kershaw County to keep our facility running 24 hours a day, making fiber optic cable for America with Kershaw County employees. Fiber optic cable, there it is. You have a little sample over here if you like.
Thank you.
In order to qualify to participate in this massive multi-billion-dollar broadband program, our products had to be certified as Build America, Buy America compliant, which means the tiniest component to the construction and completion of the finished product has to be made in America, and this was not an easy task for us or for others in our industry. But we are proud to say tonight that all Sterlite's products made in Lugoff, made in Kershaw County, meet the rigid Buy America requirements required to participate not only in the broadband program, but in all federal infrastructure projects. In conclusion, on behalf of Mr. Shindy and all Sterlite's North American headquarters team and our employees all over the country and the world, we thank you and the citizens of Kershaw County for your investment and support. We appreciate your service. We appreciate your commitment to our county. And to you and to all of our fellow Kershaw County citizens, our best wishes for a prosperous and happy 2025. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Asman.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much.
that. Any comments or questions? I'm sorry, what was that, Mr. Jones?
Here you go, Jim, that's what I gave you.
That's what he gave us, Jimmy.
They,
Yeah.
they just handed it around up here, Jimmy. You've got one at your desk.
It kind of looks like a horse.
It's not a cat toy. But what it is the fiber optic, it starts with fiber optic cable, or fiber optics, which is the little strands of glass. They have kind of the circumference of a hair. You'll see many of those in there, and we bind those together. We buffer them. We put them in those little plastic tubes, which is why that's called loose tube. We then take the loose tube and we put a water blocking tape in there because it goes in the ground. It keeps the moisture out. We put a steel protective around there because rats and squirrels and things like to eat at it. There is some of our cable has a gel in it, and then it has a layer of a protective layer as well as a membrane in the middle that protects it from breaking.
Is that what that's for?
That's what that is.
Okay. I was gonna
Mr.
ask
Chair,
you
if I may, thank you for being a good partner with Kershaw County.
Certainly.
Thank you all so much.
We appreciate that.
Any other comments?
Yes, I have a question. Thank you for having such a successful business here locally.
Give that back, Sammy.
And and providing good jobs for our citizens. My question, though, is when these get cut, because everybody don't dial 811 before they go to digging and cutting, how hard is that to splice back, and how do you do that?
You probably don't splice that back, and what we do is we sell it to True Vista, we sell it to Charter, we sell it to Frontier, Verizon, those types of businesses that have their own install crews. And it is designed, the fiber optic cable business is designed is that you can splice cable from one manufacturer to another. And you just do it by matching up the colors on there. As we had a group today of high school students that came from the Kershaw County High School and the Camden Military Academy with the Chamber. And we were telling them that fiber cabling jobs.
Was that junior leadership?
Yeah,
Junior
leadership.
So my daughter and I both got briefs on fiber today.
Yep.
She's in junior leadership.
Well, they were there, they spent time, and it's a great opportunity for us to share with them about manufacturing. But we were telling them that splicing jobs are six-figure jobs, and there is a huge demand for splicers. And these are jobs of the future. They're going to be around for many years to come.
Mr. Chairman, if I can too.
Mr. Tucker.
I want to tell Mr. Burgess, back to Jeff Burgess, thank you for just continuing to produce. But you're sitting beside a legend there, and I don't want to screw his name up because, he's got two last names. It's hard to remember. But Nelson, we appreciate you, buddy. We appreciate everything you do from the higher levels because one thing I can say, you might have left Kershaw County, but Kershaw County's never left you. You've always thought about us and continue to help us bring business here.
I didn't know
So
Nelson.
thanks.
I didn't know Nelson was in the
Nelson out there
audience,
now.
Sammy.
Yes, he's out there.
Nelson,
He's
I know
out.
you missed me. We had some good times.
Thank you, Mr. Tucker. Any other comments?
Yeah, I'd like to say, I think this is great.
Mr. Brazel.
It's, it actually says Made in Kershaw County, South Carolina, USA on it. And that's cool. I appreciate you representing. But I did have one question. It appears to be a social security number on it. Is that yours?
No, these are industry markings. The federal government, the FCC, has markings that that there's no social security number.
I'm
53, right?
only joking with you. It's just awfully close to mine.
Thank you, Mr. Brazel. Seeing no other comments, I just want to say thank you, Mr. Adams and Mr. Shindy. Thank you so much for being here. This is a wave of economic development success, hearing that you're reaching your goals and supplying outstanding jobs in Kershaw County. We recently had an announcement from Laserform with a $16 million investment. Luck Companies and Luckstone just announced $25 million investment. We've got another project on the agenda tonight to talk about, and so we just support you. We encourage you. And I'm not going to take you up as a false promise on introducing me to any of your friend companies or subsidiaries or anyone else that might want to come to Kershaw County and do business, or if you want to expand, we want to help you do that and try to keep the jobs local. It's one of the best ways, as you know, to have an impact in the community. The ROI is big. You keep the jobs local, there's a multiplier effect in the economy, and we want to see you successful. And so we have a product here in Kershaw County that's going across the nation to make sure people have the internet and data they need in residential homes and commercial properties. It's just inspiring. I'm going to have to watch the video again tonight so I can take that little soundbite. That's my anthem now that you had earlier. It was really good. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, before they leave,
Mr. Tucker.
Mr. Burgess, can you get that on a better recording for us so we can actually put it on True Vista's rewinding screen or whatever it is? Yeah, on a loop. Yeah, we'll appreciate that.
Well, I'd be more than happy to come back, or you could do a professional presentation. But we have also expressed to Mr. Burgess that we would like for you, when you're available, to come visit our plant. We'd like nothing better than to give you a tour. We know you can't come together for quorum reasons, but if one or two of you would like to come, we'd love to have you just kind of show you what we do firsthand. You invested in this, and we want to, you need to know what it is you invested in.
We'll come out. We can have up to 3 unless we tell the media, announce it publicly. Then we can all come.
It's up to you if you want. We can accommodate all. Heck, we had 35 students today. So if we can herd those cats, we can deal with you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
All right, gentlemen, that takes us to item number 7A on the agenda, approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion, we approve the minutes.
Mr. Cato, is there a second? Mr. Tomlinson?
Second. Yeah.
Any discussion on the minutes?
Just want to tell Ms. Hannah, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tucker.
I'll be abstaining.
Mr. Jones abstaining. All right, no further discussion. Let's take it to a vote. Raise your hand if you're in favor. All are in favor, except for Mr. Jones abstaining. Hannah, thank you. Item 8A, for discussion only, I place this on the agenda, Election Commission compensation. I'll make a motion that we have discussion on this. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Tucker has a second. I'll go ahead. I'm looking for a recommendation from staff and welcome any discussion from my fellow council members regarding how we might adjust the compensation for election commission members. It's been a long time since they've adjusted it. As elections require more, I'll say, policing and efforts to make sure that the elections are conducted appropriately under the law and fairly, and that every vote is protected. I've found that commission members are spending more and more time having to address these issues. And then this would also apply to some of the policies that they vote on, and having poll workers go out and work for, I don't know, is it $7 or $7.25 that they're doing right now? And we might need to adjust that as well. And so I'm looking for a recommendation from staff to be given by next meeting. Mr. Templer, if you can place that on the agenda for us on how we should adjust that, what would be fair? I think it's $125 or something right now. Maybe we go up to $175 or $200 or whatever would be fair for that, and then look at how we handle poll workers. I know that they work longer hours than they're scheduled, and sometimes, I think Mr. Tucker or others might be able to speak to this, they're compensated differently during primaries, which is an essential vote, versus general elections, which is an essential vote. And so in my mind, it's kind of the same work. It should be the same pay. Any other comments from council on that? You have the second, Mr. Tucker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I've already spoken with the county administrator on this, and he's actually met with the director over voters registration. And some of the concerns that what was going on is when the state passed the law and took away what we call absentee voting, and we went to early voting, so it's 2 weeks before the election, we're paying our poll workers like $75 for the day, and they're still working 11 and 12 hours. Now, I just did that on my phone. That's $6.81 an hour. There's none of y'all sitting out in this audience or listening on that TV screen is going to work below the minimum wage. Not going to happen, Captain. You can say what you want to say, but I won't believe you. So we have to fix that. The administrator is aware of it. He's already, as I said, had conversations with the director over there, and they're working on a plan because it should not be less pay because laws change and require you to stay at the same time, approximately, and you get less compensation. So I think Mr. Temple will come back with some recommendations for this council, and but I just wanted to give you a little background where this is coming from. And so that's all I have to say on this.
Thank you, Mr. Tucker. Before we give the floor to someone else, I'll just mention there's been actual election cycles where I'll get a call and people just weren't really committed, don't show up. You have people who aren't particularly motivated to get out and work the poll that day. And if you don't have the right staffing, it becomes a really big problem for voter intimidation, voter suppression, all kinds of issues come up. You have to be able to enforce the rules and make sure that the vote's protected in essential ways. Any other comments from council members?
Mr. Chair, just very briefly, would it be possible when we have that presentation to have the voting director? It occurs to me that we have a new director and we haven't had a chance to kind of meet her formally. So I think that might kill two birds with one stone, allow us to actually, if we have questions about that process, maybe have her come with.
Sure, we can have Mr. Templer extend that invitation. A lot of folks have talked to her offline privately, but I think it'd be good to have her come and be welcome in this forum. And as you can tell, this is a forum in which, we've got the clerk of court here, we had the sheriff participating earlier. So many leaders from the county come in and participate, and we'd love to meet her publicly as well.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Tucker?
Let me be very mindful to all of us that we've got 2 special elections coming up. So the sooner the better that we can resolve this will help. That way we don't fall back in this situation for the special election. Our House seat 50 here in Kershaw County, which was held by Mr. Will Wheeler, he resigned a couple of weeks ago. So right now, that district, which is my district that I represent and live in, do not have a House seat over in the General Assembly. And no, I'm not running for that seat. Y'all couldn't get rid of me that easy. With that being said, though, and then we have a special election for the city of Camden that's coming up for Senator Graham, who's our new senator, seat in the city of Camden. So with that, the county is responsible for holding those elections, and Mr. Templer is aware of what we've got going on, and I'm confident that we'll have a solution where we can move forward from that point on.
Thank you, Mr. Tucker. Any other comments? Seeing none, no votes required. We can move on to the next agenda item that takes care of 8A. Next agenda item, gentlemen, is ordinances 9A, first reading on a AOD, Airport Overlay District, regarding the Unified Code, Kershaw County. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I have a motion. I move that County Council amend the proposed text amendment in the form of the document I provided to my fellow council members entitled Airport Overlay District First Reading Amendments.
Let's get it on the floor first, and then we'll amend it.
Yeah, I make a motion, we approve.
So you make a motion that we...
Yes.
Okay, we got a second from Mr. Tucker. Any further discussion prior to any other motions? Seeing no further discussion prior to any other motions.
What is your motion again? Please restate it.
Yes. So to amend the proposed
I
text
meant to
amendment.
get it on the table.
Yeah, well, the motion is just approval as is and a second. Any discussion prior to that vote? No discussion. All right, all in favor of approving prior to any other motions, raise your hand.
Wait.
Oh.
That-
You gotta take
that
your
would be a-
minutes now.
Okay, we're on the table with a second.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I have a motion that we amend the proposed text amendment in the form of the document that I provided to my fellow council members titled Airport Overlay District First Reading Amendments. It should be a packet stapled that was laid out that everyone has, and it goes through all of the line-by-line amendments. And if I can get a second, I can kind of go through.
All right, we got a first, is there a second?
Yeah.
Mr. Shoemake has a second.
Okay.
You still got the floor, Mr. Tomlinson.
I'll go through, it's really too much to go through line by line, but here's, I'll start. So after hearing a lot of concerns from the public, I've contacted staff and legal and asked them to work on a revision to the AOD. This has been quite a process, really wholesome process that staff and legal has overtaken to really address the concerns that the public has put out. The numerous amendments to the revised version, it's too many to go through line by line. If you kind of look at it, you can see a bunch of red, a bunch of stricken, a bunch of writing. That is all thanks to staff and their hard work and the public's input being incorporated into these amendments. It is the goal of the amendments to recognize the historic and current land use trends near the airport and to provide opportunity for the future development in East Camden while protecting the airport from high density and encroachment of incompatible uses. I want to summarize these amendments for everybody here in attendance and everybody listening. The amendments clarify that the agricultural use sections of the table are restrictions on commercial agricultural activities and do not apply to property owners that have a personal horse on their property or to hobbyist activities like having a chicken coop in their yard. The conditional use occupancy density restrictions have been revised upwards so that future use of undeveloped property is viable while still controlling density toward high-density uses near the airport. And if you go through kind of the lines that were given in these amendments, you can kind of see the stricken.
Are you going to present each amendment for us to vote on?
This is going to be a wholesome approach, but we can kind of discuss going forward. I have a few more that I'd like to read before we kind of get into it. Hunting and fishing restrictions were a major concern that I've heard. This version would not restrict those uses other than to restrict hunters from shooting across airport property and directly at a aircraft, which is also a federal offense, firing a firearm. So that is already a federal offense, just included. That would be the only hunting and fishing restriction that my amendments propose. Number 4, with the use chart amendments, adding clarity and flexibility to the agricultural uses, there will be fewer nonconformities that result for the ordinance. It is my hope that the nonconformity concerns we have heard will be addressed by the proposed use chart amendments, but I am still proposing an extension of the cessation of the use period from 1 year, and this is a change from what is in this amendment that I've made. I didn't catch this error until after the draft was already done. It's going to go from 1 year to 3 years. So 1 year to 3 years for those of us otherwise allowed in the base zoning district, but that become a nonconformity use by adoption of the AOD. So 1 to 3 years. Number 5, one of the most important aspects of the revised version I'm proposing is the amendment of the map boundaries of land use Zone C on cross runway ends. With Zone C narrowing, there will be more Zone D property in East Camden, which is aimed at accommodating future development viability. One of the Planning Commission suggested amendments was to allow for a specific use to high-density occupancy within Zone C, but that might result in challenges for property owners and policy inconsistency for other property uses being density restricted in Zone C. Instead of amending density for a single use type in Zone C, the alternative of amending Zone C map boundary will preserve reasonable density restrictions throughout all of Zone C, but will also allow anticipated development and growth in East Camden following both historic and current land use trends in that area. If the proposed amendments meet the approval of my colleagues here on council, the new version tonight will be on the next agenda packet in full, so every single amendment that I have proposed. If approved, I would like to also have staff put an amended version on the Planning Commission website so the public can view it in all practical uses. I asked my colleagues that this is not a perfect approach or a perfect complete amendment. I'm sure there's still other work that we have to do. This is addressed at eliminating a lot of concerns. The map, the overlay map, I don't know if we have a copy that we can put up on the screen specifically of just the updated map. It's in your packet here that we have, and I believe it's also in our agenda packet for public.
I think the original map is in the agenda packet.
The original map is in the agenda packet. Is there any way that we can put the updated map on the screen, or do we have the ability to do that?
We don't have it. It's not here.
GIS.
Huh?
It's not in our,
It's not in the,
nope,
We should have asked for that earlier.
Got a copy here.
it's not the updated, it's not his updated one. His updated?
do we have a copy that we can
Brent.
get?
I've got a copy.
You do have a copy of the updated?
Gerald, the latest copy is what you gave me, correct, sir? Yeah, I can go up and grab. I've got it right
Yes,
here.
is there, that would be helpful here. Maybe we can hold it up, or I don't know if anybody be able to see that from the back.
Do we have a way to put this up maybe on a easel or something?
I hope
That's what he's
so,
saying.
Yes.
It's
because I am absolutely confused.
Mr.
I'm really
Thomason,
confused.
is this the map that?
This is the
request-
updated map that we have presented to SCAC, and we have not received a yay or a nay from SCAC.
But there's no negative
There's
comment
been
from
no
them?
negative feedback at all. And this also helps Maverick Hill, from my understanding, be able to go through with their building of the update of the church without negatively affecting the AOD or the airport in whole. But those are my amendments, and we can kind of go through more, but I move that we pass in wholesome my approach and amendments to the AOD.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Schumake.
So the reason I seconded this is I've had a chance to read this, and, I know that Mr. Tomlinson has been working tirelessly to make sure that the spirit of everything the Planning Commission wanted to do, particularly with equine, was incorporated in these amendments. And so, as he mentioned, this is our first reading, so these amendments will be available through the next 2 readings. So we're not adopting the entire ordinance tonight. This is just reading number 1. I wanted to note too, you mentioned the 1 to 3 year change. That's not going to be, for many folks, it won't even be applicable at all, just for those very few folks for which some time limitation is applicable. So for those, almost everyone that came up and spoke, understand that that time limitation is applicable to very few, and you'll see that in the holistic ordinance. A couple other quick points on this is, this does preserve the equine. This started as generic language from SCAC, the South Carolina Association of Counties, that had, by and large, sort of a boilerplate approach. Most of the counties they're dealing with don't really have that issue with equine, so it's just sort of things they put in. Most of that has been clawed back out of this. Almost all of it really has been clawed back as related to equine. So this should address the majority, if not all, the issues that were brought up related to the equine industry, which we all support mightily up here. This also is important because an airport is critical to industry. This is not about, we don't have a tourism airport like Columbia where we have a passenger terminal. This is about, making sure that industry that comes, like the folks that just spoke, they need to be able to come and they need to be able to bring folks, and having an airport is critical to growth of industry. Any one of these industries that's coming in will tell you a county without an airport is going to struggle to bring industry. And without industry, we don't have a great path forward. There was also a mention of the 22 million. I just want to point out, because I've heard that number, I've got a couple calls on that. For those of you that see this 22 million number, that 22 million number, when you apply for these FAA grants, you sort of have to give a wish list of this was if we had an unlimited supply of money, this is everything we would do. And that total was about 22 million. We have not spent $22 million of county money at the airport. We have spent almost if you exclude grant money, we've spent almost no county money at the airport. The vast majority of county money that has been spent at the airport has been procured through grants. But when you apply for these grants, you have to tell the FAA and justify the things you would like to see your airport do. So there are approximately $22 million worth of improvements that, if given enough free money, we would love to do out there. And so that's a requirement for these FAA grants. So something got lost in translation there, but that's what that 22 million number is about. We didn't spend 22 million on the airport. I would also like to point out, in terms of those who may think this is unnecessary, and we can put this in the agenda packet for next time, just so folks can see it. But, we have a letter here from last week that came to the county from the executive director of the Aeronautics Commission that talks about the fact that by 2027, the plan is to have a statutory law in place across the state that requires an airport overlay district in order for you to get any money at all from the state or feds from your airport. So this is something we're trying to get ahead of, because what this allows us to do, even if we don't get it right in 3 readings, we can adjust. Anything we pass, we can change. But if we wait until 2027 when it's required, then we may be behind the gun and we may lose this funding. So by taking a proactive approach, this allows us to go in and say, okay, we've got an airport overlay. We can adjust that if necessary. After 3 readings, this doesn't end the conversation. If we haven't hit the mark, that's okay. We can go back and adjust. And the beauty is we've got years to do that before it becomes a mandatory requirement. I want to thank staff for the tireless work they've put into this, particularly Gerald Blanchard, who I know has been kind of taking lead on a lot of this. So again, I know that this has been talked about a lot. We still have 2 more readings. But again, Councilman Tomlinson has put a great deal of work into this, and I know he's vetted this through legal counsel. So for those reasons, I'm fully in support of this amendment tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Schumake. Any further comments?
I'd like to make an amendment.
Well,
Yes, he can.
what's your motion?
I'd like to make a motion to remove zones D and E from the airport overlay district to make it a smaller district. It would give a kind of a holy cross.
Well, you got to get a second, don't you?
You do have to get a second.
So,
I'll second it.
Mr. Jones has a second.
okay, thank you, sir. So, and I'd be happy to hear from staff as to reasons why we would want to keep or not want to keep zones D and E. A, B1, and B2, and then C are your most critical zones that would actually protect the airport. I've studied some of this. This is a lot of information. I've had a hard time finding myself in support of the airport overlay district because it's so much at once. I think probably I'm looking at this from an opposite approach as Councilman Schumate, and everything he said made sense and is wise to be proactive, but I'd like to start small and work our way out. So if we can buffer each runway with maybe the minimum amount, we can have better conversations with property owners. I think we can cool concerns with property owners, being that we're dealing with a much smaller area. Currently, the airport overlay district's about 17,000 acres. I think if we remove D and E, it will be less than 2,500 acres. It just, maybe even less than that. I hadn't done the exact calculations, but that will be my amendment.
Can you just explain E and D, sir?
So we don't have a, it's not a good way to, being that we don't have an electronic version. So we're holding it up. E is this huge oval around the outside of the district. D is a quarter section. And so it's a massive amount of property that's mildly restricted. And I don't know that it needs to be included or not. So I pose that question to everyone here.
Anything further, Mr. Brazel? Mr. Jones, you have the second?
Well, I don't know if I want to get into my comments yet. Mr. Brazel, first off, Mr. Thompson, thank you. I know you put a lot of work, I know the Finance Committee has, but we don't agree tonight at all. I'm not going to vote on this at all, and I'll tell you why. I'm going to support the people who live out there, and I don't understand a lot of, I think things are moving very quickly. If somebody else understands it better than me, I mean, I'm sure I'm not the smartest man up here, but if I don't thoroughly understand something, hadn't had a chance to really get down to it and read it, I'm not going to vote for it. So I will be a no vote for that tonight. I'm going to tell you, I think we're doing too much too quick. I think when you have a lady that comes up here, Mrs. Hawk, she says, I quit, I give up, I quit. That's not what we're up here about. We've missed the boat somewhere with the folks because the folks are upset. We could be as right as day as night, but by God, if the people think something that we don't think, then we're right. Perception is reality. I think we need to table this. I think we need to drop it. I think we need to restart and communicate more with the folks. My phone has been ringing off the hook, and so this is what I've done for 19 years, is that I pretty much always sided with the people on issues because I don't live out there. It's not going to affect me one bit, but it's going to affect you. That's your livelihood. That's your most people's biggest investment is their home and their land. And I just wish, and I'd like to ask this council, let's just put this on the back burner for a minute and go back to the drawing board and let's make it a little bit more simplified and not really. There's an 81-year-old lady who lives on Red Fox Road. She's been there since 1970. This will affect her tremendously. And I know, Mr. Chairman, you know who I'm talking about, 'cause I think she's talked to you as well, and maybe some of the rest of you up here. But folks, I'm asking y'all, let's hear what these folks have said to us for the last few weeks and what they said to us with the phone calls. I know all of y'all have gotten phone calls up here. Nobody's done anything wrong, but I think it's too much government overreach. I think it's absolutely throwing it in the face of the folks who live there, who will be affected by this. So, and Mr. Brazel, for you to bring another amendment, I appreciate that. I do, but I'm not going to vote on anything that's going to be pro this overlay district at this point in time. When you got a pastor that gets up here and he's forced to come, not forced, I mean, he's compelled to be here twice to say, guys, come on, hear what I'm saying, listen to me. I mean, we need to listen to the people. I've been here 19 years. I wouldn't have lasted that long if I hadn't have listened to the people. And I'm asking y'all to please, let's do that tonight. Give us some time. Let me understand a little bit better. Let them understand it a little bit better. And may support it, may not. But at this point in time, I absolutely cannot and will not support it.
Mr. Jones, with all due respect, I think these amendments are listening to
One
the
second,
people.
Mr. Thomason. Mr. Jones, you done?
Yeah, let me just say this too, and this is no pun intended, no due respect. I just saw the amendments tonight. So it's quite a bit. And also, you gave a very detailed explanation, but it's still, I'm still just kind of confused. And, as I said, maybe I missed something somewhere, but I just was a little bit confused. I think each amendment should be read out individually and voted on individually so that people know exactly what we're doing. And the folks out here may know exactly what you're talking about, but I don't. And until I look at it a little bit more, I have to always had to read a little bit more and study a little bit more, So, but anyway, thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, members of the council. But don't count on me for a vote.
Mr. Tomlinson.
You're welcome.
Mr. Braswell, so your amendment is to remove E and D
In its entirety.
in its entirety. Can I get kind of a update from staff about, or legal, how that affects the airport, the AOD, and what will be the kind of negative or positive effects to removing those?
If you were to do that, it would no longer be an AOD, because it is the least restrictive, E being the least restrictive, to almost no restrictions, but D has restrictions for, an example would be a large stadium or of something like that, and the likelihood of that going out there is minimal, but other things that you simply would not want out there would be hazardous material dump sites or things like that. So it's the D and E are the absolute least restrictive, but what they restrict out there are things that would not normally go there anyway.
Yeah. So the only thing not permitted that I see in D is a solid waste landfill.
So D has conditional restrictions on certain uses that might be incompatible with safe airport operations, like mining operations that might otherwise be allowed. I believe they're conditionally restricted that the operator would have to check with SCAC or FAA to make sure that it is not offensive to those operations, but it does have that minimal control within Zone D. Because that area is in the voids from the fan blade or the Iron Cross, some of those uses could be established quite close to the airport. For instance, the matter that was before Planning Commission, the subdivision development out there, Dogwood Acres, is in Zone D, but it immediately abuts the Zone C. That is zone general development, that underlying parcel, but there are a lot of rural parcels that could perhaps support mining. Additionally, SCAC and the FAA both in their guidance state that if a local jurisdiction has the ability to enact some land use controls over those areas, that is their expectation for grants. Now, they do defer to local government in y'all's land use decisions and what you enact, but they do encourage and expect some level of land use control. Again, if one were to establish, and this is hypothetical, say a mining operation in Hunt Country that, and I understand a lot of that stuff is restricted, privately restricted, but if a mining operation were to be established in Zone D with a lot of dust and whatnot, that could affect airport operations. If it is not regulated within D and it's an allowed use on the underlying base zoning district, it would be allowed, period. That D zone and that E zone, again, allow for some control and minimal control on those uses that are pretty much inherently incompatible with airports. But it does allow them to be considered on a case-by-case analysis, and an applicant that wanted to, say, establish a mining use or an electric power plant, again, they could check with FAA and SCAC, and they might be approved for it, depending on their location. But again, it allows the county to exert a modicum of control. And again, to Mr. Shoemake's point, if the state in 2027 says, you've got to do this, and their model regulations and the FAA model regulations are set up with these concentric zones and these fan blades and the areas between them, that would be their expectation. So that's some of the kind of policy rationale through FAA and SCAC guidance in that zone. And again, it is minimally restricted within Zone D.
Mr. Tomlinson, you still have the floor.
Yeah. Well, kind of with that being said, that takes away the whole approach of the district itself. There's no way I could support that amendment, especially on first reading, killing the entire goal of us and staff working so hard to put this together in the public. So I would be happy to look at other things on second reading, and I'm sure we need to fine tooth comb, but I cannot support those amendments.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make an amendment to Mr. Brazel's amendment.
All other council members get an opportunity to speak before we have a council member speak again. Any other comments? Mr. Tucker?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I want to say, I have a question too for you, Mr. Templer. I want to say thank you to staff and thank you to the citizens that actually came out to speak with staff and council members on these issues, because these amendments came straight from that Councilman Thomason has proposed to us tonight. And I think that's what needs to happen in our society more, that we need to have conversation and compromise. As I told you before, Horses and Planes has been existing before a lot of you were probably here, including myself. And I have parents and grandparents that was born and raised and have died here. With that being said, we've got 2 more bites at this apple. I'm going to support Mr. Thomason's amendment tonight because I think it's a fair proposal. And Mr. Temple, will you guys, you and Mr. Blanchard and staff, will y'all be holding any more of the public meetings that y'all have held in the past within the next 2 to 3 weeks when we meet again?
Yes, sir. So we had a well-attended meeting in this room last Thursday, I think.
yeah.
Yes, sir. I think that was started at 6:30, so my commitment to those folks is after this first reading with the amendments, we would have a lot more to chew on. So we would meet back here this Thursday, same time, same place, with updated information to, further discuss. And I echo what you say. The feedback we heard from the folks in that room was incredibly helpful. There were things that made us kind of take a step back, and it wasn't necessarily something we had thought about, but in terms of just mere terminology, from equine industry to the ability to label something commercial equine industry. So just some semantics in there a little bit. So very helpful. All of the meetings, this will be the 4th if we have it on, we will have it on Thursday. So, and I would be happy to meet even after that, after the second reading. We'll continue that process to further take in public comment to staff.
Well, that's not something that we have to do, but I'm greatly appreciative of you guys doing that, because that's how we learn of things that we don't know about or may not be aware of. And with that, I will say that the 2 more times that we have to read this in a public hearing, I think it allows for everybody to have participation and say so. But don't just come with a problem. I always say if you got a problem, you should have a couple solutions when you bring your problem. And you're not going to always get what you want 100%. People don't like the word compromise, but I think it's a good word, and it works out pretty well. If we learn to do it more in America, we won't be in such bad shape. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Tucker. Mr. Cato.
I want to start first with a legal question. So does the second reading have a time limit? Do we have a particular time period that the second reading has to fall in?
So county council, it's at their discretion, any county council or city council, the timing and order of reading. If your question, Mr. Cato, is would second reading have to be sequential? Not necessarily. If these amendments do not answer a lot of public concerns, and there are a lot of continuing public concerns, and council saw fit to defer at the next meeting for additional consideration, that's certainly possible. So you could read something, skip a meeting, read something, skip a meeting. That would totally be at the discretion of the majority of council, the timing of all that.
The way I see this in first reading, is this is kind of like doing a book report. You do a draft, you go over your draft, you make your corrections, you have a proofread on your second, and then you have your third and final draft. I think there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. I think that, and I appreciate Mr. Tomlinson's amendments. I think it's answered a lot of concerns of the people out there, and I want to make sure that their lifestyle does not change. It does not affect them in any way. I've said this before. I'm 100% for everything that they want as far as the rights that they have now. I'm very pleased that I've seen that this has worked into the church's favor. That was another main concern of mine. But I do believe that there's a lot more work, and staff has put a lot of work into this. A lot of resources, a lot of money. I'm afraid if we just X this project now, when we start over, we've wasted a lot of money, a lot of time, and a lot of effort. And then we'll have to go back and we'll have to start all over again in another year or two. But with that being said, I think that we need to take our time, as much time as needed and as much time as we deem necessary before we go to the second reading, to make sure that we have everything right. And we have it right for the county, for the overlay, and we have it right mainly have it right for the citizens in this overlay district. I'll support the first reading tonight, but I want to encourage our staff to make sure that we take the amendments that pass tonight, put them into action, and do the best we can to make sure that we acknowledge each and every concern that is brought to us in this overlay. And if it takes us 6 months before we have the second reading, so be it. But let's make sure we get it right. But I can't agree with just Xing the project altogether.
Thank you, Mr. Tucker. Any further comments?
Yes.
I'll comment. If you have a motion, I'll comment on the pending.
I have a comment.
Okay, I'll go ahead and comment, and then you'll be able to go a second time.
You do that, sir. Thank you.
So we're still on the Brazel amendment. After all this discussion, we're still on the Brazel amendment. And I just like to research stuff and make sure I know what I'm doing before I understand the implications of something. Removing zone D and E, Mr. Brazel, might be a great idea. But I haven't been able to look at it or seek any SCAC, the South Carolina Aeronautics Commission, feedback on that map. I do know that the map that we have tonight hasn't received a negative report or any negative connotation from SCAC after multiple requests, and so that's a good thing. And so since I haven't been able to research it, I wouldn't be able to support your amendment tonight. It might make sense in the future if it comes back up. And, I've only been on council for a few months now, and so this has been going on for quite some time, and there's been discussions that have served as an undergirdle for a lot of what's happened tonight. But I just have to be able to research things to make sure I'm making the right decision. And therefore, I wouldn't be able to support that amendment tonight. Mr. Jones?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, I have a question for you, if I may. Did you have a chance to research these amendments that we got tonight?
Yes, I've been asking questions quite heartily and trying to proactively reach out to find out what made sense or not.
So you saw these before we got them tonight?
They were emailed out to, I think, all council members.
Y'all know I don't do my email.
Well, well,
that's just, I'm not going to do email, okay?
Okay.
But bottom line is, my phone rings 24 hours a day. I'll answer my phone and I'll text you. And I've just dropped Facebook too, by the way. Can I go?
You still have the floor.
Oh, okay, thank you. I'd like to make an amendment to Mr. President's amendment. I'd like to make an amendment that we postpone this and that we try to get a better source of communication with the folks out there, because I just think it's absolutely wrong for us to vote for this tonight, and with the level of information that's been involved. And I do have a question, Ms. Timber. How many town hall meetings or open meetings did y'all have? Was it 2, you said, or 3?
This Thursday would be 4.
How many people showed up? Did y'all keep a list? Did everybody signed coming in?
No, we had one out at the airport, was the first, with a representative from WK Dixon. I think that was back in November. We had another smaller group come in.
You know how many people it was?
Here at, it was a lot of the same folks that have come to all meetings.
It-
I can't call names, but
9 people. Okay. I think it'd be good to maybe have people sign in when they come in, just have a list of who. And here's why I asked, I'm sorry, Mr. Towner, I didn't mean to cut you, but here's what I mean by that.
Mr. Jones, if you've got a motion on the floor, we got to
All right.
get a second before we talk about it
Okay,
anymore.
okay, 'cause I guess
So
there's a
Mr. Jones has
second.
made a motion to postpone, which I'll interpret as a motion to table. Is there a second? Seeing those,
I'll second a motion to table.
Thank you.
okay, it's on the floor.
Now I
Mr.
got
Jones,
the
you got the first?
Thank you. Yes. As I said, I think I've already said it, that why we need to do this, and then we can move forward with it later on. But I guess I just haven't heard anybody who's called me that's in favor of it. You know, I know we talk about the people that feel good about it, but I haven't seen them. I haven't heard from them. All I've heard is the people out there saying they didn't want this. They felt like this is overreach. It's big government coming in, and so having said that, thank you, Mr. Brothers. Thank you, Mr. Brothers, for seconding this. Let me get on the floor. I think that to remove this from the floor tonight would be the thing that the majority of the people would want in Kershaw County.
Any further comment?
Call for the vote, Mr. Chair.
All
On
right.
the third amendment, because we got 3.
Yeah, so right now, we're on the Jones motion to table. All in favor of the Jones motion to table, raise your hand.
I'd table it.
You've got Mr. Brazel and Mr. Jones in favor. All opposed, raise your hand.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You've got Tomlinson, Cato, Connell, Tucker, and Shoemake in favor, and Mr. Jones and Mr. Brazel, reverse that.
Yes.
Jones and Brazel in favor. All remaining council members opposed. Ms. Hannah for the record. All right, that brings us back to the
Mr. Chairman, I'll withdraw my motion, my amendment.
Okay, Mr. Brazel withdraws. That brings us back to the Tomlinson amendment. Any further discussion on the Tomlinson amendment? Seeing no further discussion, we'll call for the vote. All in favor of the Tomlinson amendment, raise your hand. That's Shoemake, Tucker, Connell, Cato, and Tomlinson in favor. All opposed? Mr. Brazel and Mr. Jones opposed. That amendment passes. Now we've got to vote on first reading of the ordinance as amended. Is there any further discussion as amended?
Again, I just want to reiterate what I said about the second reading. This is the first reading. This is what I consider to be a rough draft with these new amendments put in place that have been asked for by the community. I want to ask the staff and everybody involved to take their time before we go to a second reading and make sure that we have something that everybody is in agreement with. We need to wholeheartedly be able to vote for this without any reservation and make sure that the people of Kershaw County is happy also. Please, take our time before we go to a second reading.
May I say something?
Mr. Jones.
Thank you so much. You know, we spent so much time on, I call it Disneyland future planning in the past, when we should have been working on a comprehensive land use ordinance. Getting back to this, guys, never mind, I'll hold that for later. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any further comment?
I'd like to thank Councilman Cato for his comments. I'd like to think that there's a version that I'd be able to support, but we are not there yet. We are, well, not we, I am nowhere close because I've seen a room full of angry people, and I need to see a room full of happy people. So I'll continue to be engaged and try to find solutions for everybody who lives in these zones. I don't want anybody negatively impacted, and I don't think anybody does. So I'll also thank Councilman Tomlinson for the amendments. I know that you are trying to solve the problem that was created, and hopefully we can move forward and do that in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Brazel.
Mr. Brazel. Any further comment?
Mr. Chairman,
Any other council members?
I knew you were going to do
Seeing
that.
none, go ahead, Mr.
Thank you.
Jones.
Thank you so much for your kindness. Listen, I wasn't going to say, but I'd like to, does everybody up here understand what they're voting for tonight? Y'all seen these amendments? Y'all understand them? Y'all can explain them to me tonight? That you're voting on for first reading? I'm just asking, do y'all all understand what you're voting for tonight? Anyway, I don't, but I don't think all of us up here do either. We're just kind of moving the process on. Thank y'all so much for your time and listening to me tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Jones.
It's good to
Any
be
further
back, too, by the
comment?
way.
All I can say to Mr. Jones, I do think next meeting when we address this on second reading, and it could be pushed back, I think there's going to be a lot different tone and voice speaking from the audience, because I think a lot of these issues have been addressed in these amendments, and it's going to take a while. But the public's going to have plenty of time to go through these amendments to make sure that they fit, a lot of time to interact with staff in case we need to make further amendments, which I'm sure we will.
Any further comments? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. This is voting on the AOD ordinance as amended, first reading only. All in favor, raise your hand. We've got Shoemake, Tucker, Connell, Cato, and Tomlinson. All opposed? Brazel and Jones opposed. Ms. Hannah. It passes first reading. Thank you, gentlemen. That takes us to item number 9B on the agenda. This is first reading of an ordinance approving form contracts regarding private hangar licenses at Kershaw County Airport. Mr. Templar, do you have any update for us, or just a little background before we call for a motion?
Just real briefly, Mr. Chairman, members of council, this is to just bring up to date and clean up some of the things we have out at the airport as it relates to individuals renting what would normally be a ground lease hangar situation with a hangar that was built on county property and are all currently occupied by individuals. We're just setting the rates a fair market value.
Okay, thank you for that background. With that background, is there a motion?
Make a motion that we approve the recommended fees by our staff for our airport hangars.
I'd second.
All right, we've got a first and a second.
Can we get a copy, can we get a copy of those fees on the, Where you going? You don't want too far. Here we go.
There we go. Yes, it should be in there. There we go.
All right, you've got that? Okay, it's on the table. Mr. Tucker, you had the first.
So I would just like to thank staff for doing due diligence.
And I'll just remind you, Mr. Gerald is ready to present or answer any questions. He was hiding at the front.
I definitely yield to you, sir.
All right, no problem. Council, thanks for the opportunity to present these. What you have before you is the recommendation of the hangar rates for 4 private, 2 corporate hangars located at Kershaw County Airport, as well as drafts of the associated contracts needed by administration to carry out managerial duties. The 4 contracts that you have in your packet are going to be private hangar license agreements.
Mr. Blanchard, if you could talk into the mic so folks can hear you.
I'm sorry. That's for the individual. Commercial license agreement, which would be for any business. Commercial charter license agreement, which is primarily our maintenance. The gentleman that is that rents Hangar 3, Community Hangar 3 out there, commercial business. And our 30-year construction and license agreement for anyone who wishes to build at Woodward Field. For the private corporate hangar fee, staff landed on a amenity-based pricing model that it establishes costs based on the amenities that they have available to them in that hangar, being electricity, water, sewer, and office space. Hangars that have electricity only will be priced at 19 cents per square foot. Hangars that have amenities, all amenities, will be priced at 24 cents per square foot. These rates are congruent with the 2024 community hangar and T hangar rates that are part of our budget proviso. These rates are comparable to other airports in our area in South Carolina. For the community hangars housing the aviation maintenance technician, we are requesting to continue what he has been working under, which is a 3% of his gross revenue is what he pays for the community hangar 3. So that's kind of where we're at. I'll be glad to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you for sharing that report. Any questions from council?
I don't have a question, I have a statement.
Any comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, if I may.
Mr. Tucker?
Thank you. Mr. Blanchard, I want to say thank you. I know that's the reason why your hair is looking like mine, it's thinning out on top, because this has been a project that you've really put a lot into and stayed up working on over the weekends and nights. But I appreciate what you're recommending back to council tonight. And I think it's more than fair, because when I first looked at these numbers, the Finance Committee, they've lowered since then. And I think that comes to you doing your comparables around the adjacent states and counties and states, because we went out of state on a couple, and talked to people who had a lot of airport experience on how they're charging and their fees and stuff. So, as I said earlier, thanks for your due diligence, and I think this is more than fair to our citizens and our patrons out there. So I look forward to giving this first nod and answering any questions between now and second reading. But thank you.
If I
Thank you,
may.
Mr. Tucker. Mr. Jones?
Thank you. Mr. Blanchard, how you doing, sir? How many airplanes do we house out at the airport?
Right now, I believe, as of last week, when we actually brought in another aircraft, I think we're up to 34.
Okay, somebody, I don't know where I heard this number. I figure you can help me out. 105?
No, sir, not at our airport. We have 81 total aircraft taxed in Kershaw County. That might be where.
Okay, but they don't house a plane here. They just use us for, okay.
Correct.
That's what I need to know. Thank you so much.
Sure, yes, sir.
Any other questions or comments from council?
I would just like to comment on what Mr. Jones was saying, if I may, Ms. Jones, and I think that's part of when we lowered our rates for 10.5 down to 4 or 6%, whatever it is.
4.
A lot of folks, of course, register the planes here, but that doesn't mean they have to store them here or house them here.
No, I wasn't saying anything was done wrong. I was just asking for the information.
No, I was just trying to, if people are watching, want to know why there's 81 registered that we're collecting taxes on, but only 30-something that's housing, that's part of the reason. Would you agree, Mr. Blanchard?
That would be correct, yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Tucker. Any further questions or comments? Gentlemen, I'll just comment that the airport's supposed to be an enterprise fund. It's supposed to stand on its own, and I think this is staff's best effort right now on first reading to help us keep that commitment of having the airport be an enterprise fund. It's supposed to stand on its own generally and not be subsidized by other tax dollars within the county. And that's an obligation that we have. So I think this helps us take a step towards fulfilling that obligation. There's work to be done yet. Still have research going on regarding the opportunity for economic development opportunities with hangars that can be built for people who invest a certain amount in Kershaw County or maintain certain size planes in Kershaw County, all to bring jobs to the area. And those are the comments that I had. Any further comments from council?
Yeah, for clarification, initially when we were discussing this, the economic development piece would give me a conflict, but at this point, there is no economic development agreement when it comes to these lease rates, so I'm free to vote unless John DeBose tells me I'm wrong.
You're not wrong.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman.
Just for clarification, I think you're free to vote otherwise. I think the large class exception applies generally, but that's just me. I can't give you legal advice.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Tucker.
I just want to say, too, on the Vice Chair's comments, we're handling that as a separate issue, so I don't want you to think that that's just a bygone thought. It's just not into what we're doing.
No, I don't want it to be, quite frankly.
Right, and that's what staff recommended as well. Yes.
All right, gentlemen, we're on 9B, first reading. I don't see any other comments. We'll move it to a vote. All in favor of passing on first reading, raise your hand. Everyone except for Mr. Jones is in favor. All opposed? Mr. Jones opposed. Ms. Hannah, for the record.
Mr. Chair, may I ask a question to you?
Sure.
Would you ask staff or whatever to do a little survey throughout the state with airports and find out how many are they generate revenue to sustain themselves without any additional help. I was told that there's not many that do.
How many are enterprise funds?
Yeah. I heard.
That's a question you can directly ask of staff yourself.
Yeah, well,
I mean, it doesn't have to come through me, I'm just saying.
Well, I'm just trying to show you a little respect.
Yeah, no, you can, in your council briefing, you can ask staff to jump through and do whatever they need
And
to.
I do realize that. But I would like to know how many are self-sufficient, Mr. Templer,
Yes, sir.
within the state of South Carolina? And the reason I say that is because I've been told that it's hard to be self-sufficient as an airport. And
And
you
for
may,
clarification, county-owned?
oh, yes. Well, we own this one.
Sure.
I want it to be an apple for an apple. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones.
Thank you.
All right, that takes us to item 9C, first reading and title only. I'm not sure who will give us an update on this, Mr. Burgess or otherwise. It's in title only, and so there's not going to be much content to it. It's an economic development matter. Do we have any general background, Mr. Templer, before we move it to a vote?
I'm sorry. Mr. Chairman, members of council, this is just, again, in title only to get the ball rolling for a fee in lieu for Project Creed.
Okay, and there'll be more information to come as they work through
Yes.
contractual arrangements and other things. First reading and title only on 9C. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion, we approve.
Mr. Tomlinson with the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Tucker has a second. Any discussion?
Yeah, what are we voting on? I mean, is it solar panels or what?
9C, first reading and title only. It's Project Creed. That's the information we've got in the packet.
Okay. Because if it's solar panels, I'm voting against it.
You
Can
get
we,
that
can we
chance
have a
again.
little better description as to what, to the public as to what we're voting on? And I see it's a fee in lieu, is possibly the fee in lieu that we're looking at. I mean, can we get a little bit more than just this?
Thank you, Mr. Cato.
Well, typically procedurally on a first reading in title only, there's no debate, no substance. It is a reading in title only. I mean, that being said, I believe Mr. Burgess probably has some detail of it.
He was ready to come up here, yes.
Atypical for details and debate to occur on the first reading. That's
But he's not mentioned the company if he tells us what the product is.
It's, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Tucker.
And I know how some of y'all feel about solar farms and this, that, and the other. Once again, this is why we read things 3 times. If you're not comfortable voting in title only, then don't vote for it. If it's the wrong thing that you voted for, if you support tonight, well, don't vote for it when it comes back up on the agenda.
You don't
It's
need
not
to,
gonna
you don't need
pass
to
tonight.
encourage me to do that, sir.
Yeah, it's not gonna pass tonight, no matter what your vote is. So let's don't put the company in jeopardy of swearing away our confidentiality because we wanna make sure we don't vote on a solar farm. That's not, we're better than that.
Mr. Tucker, I understand where you're coming from. I guess I just wanted a little bit more clarity to the people so they'd know when I voted, what I was voting for, and that it was a solar farm, not necessarily all of the details in title only, but I think it was very vague to start with. I just wanted to make sure they understood that this was a solar project.
And
Why would it-
I got your concerns. I just, because
But don't get upset now. We're,
only thing I am right now, Jim, is sleepy. I ain't nowhere near upset. With that being said, we start going down this slippery slope, not only with this project, others, then we're gonna have our economic development team and Mr. Burgess, where we may not have that confidentiality in our future projects. And that's a slope I do not wanna enter, gentlemen.
if it's industry, I'm okay. Industrial jobs, I'm okay. If solar panels, I'm not.
I got that, and you'll have your opportunity to vote against it 2 or 3 times, Mr. Jones, if you want to.
I think Sammy's point is very valid. When somebody's, whoever this is, has spent a lot of money and probably $20,000, $30,000 with an attorney and a lot of time with Mr. Burgess, and it's very typical to keep it private until after maybe second reading. So that's what we've done for the last, I know, 4 years and probably well beyond that.
19 years, I know.
Right,
We have.
so you've been doing it for a
But I
long
voted
time.
against it.
But Kershaw County is a very business-oriented and business-friendly community, and I want to make sure that we keep it that way as well.
Thank you, Mr. Brazel. Any other comments? Seeing none, I'll support this on first reading. I think we had a great message earlier from Mr. Adams and Mr. Shindy, I believe, with Sterlite reaching their goals, and we want to communicate that Kershaw County is open for business in its various forums. I look forward to getting more information on second reading and hope that the company can formalize and solidify the things it might need to as we continue to work on this. No further discussion. We'll bring it to a vote. All in favor, raise your hand. We've got Mr. Shoemake, Mr. Tucker, Mr. Brazel, Connell, and Tomlinson in favor. All opposed? We've got Mr. Cato and Mr. Jones opposed. Ms. Hannah. Passes first reading in title only. Gentlemen, that takes us to item number 10A, placed on the agenda by the County Administrator, Employee Relations Committee. Do we have a motion?
Make a motion that we take the recommendations from the county administrator on the Employee Relations Committee appointment.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second from Mr. Shoemake. Mr. Templer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of council. What you have before you is just the appointments of the, what is we call now the Employee Relations Committee, but in concept, it is our grievance committee that we're required to have. So this is going to reorder some of the due dates on terms, so this allows us to mix it up a little bit and have people fall off in different.
So you can stagger?
You're right, staggering, and so we can keep it going.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Templer. Any further comments or questions?
None, thank you, Chairman.
Is this a unilateral appointment you can do under our rules, or are you requesting a vote from us?
Just
staggered
one
terms,
vote.
isn't it?
Yeah, just the one vote, which should allow them to.
And I see before me a vacancy indicated. Do you intend to fill the vacancy tonight, or is that next
No, not
next
yet.
meeting?
We have to select a person for that. This individual just indicated that they would be retiring, so they're still active, but this is just kind of a placeholder for us.
Okay, and just to clarify, Mr. DeBose, is it required that we vote on the staggered terms? Or is it-
I believe that commission's established by statute, but might be codified, and those terms might already be codified within your county code. I don't have it off the top of my head, but I do think a vote on this would be prudent. Again, I think it is
Well, I'll
probably-
take advice and be
We
prudent.
always have, I mean,
I'll take advice and be prudent. Seeing no further discussion, we'll move it to a vote as to the staggered terms. All in favor? It's unanimous in favor. Ms. Hannah, it passes.
Thank you.
Item 10B, Kershaw County Council reappointment of Vice Chairman Russell Brazel, placed on the agenda by Councilman Tucker. Mr. Tucker, do you have a motion?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to take the time and the honor to make a motion that we reappoint the Vice Chairman, Mr. Russell Brazel, to a two-year term as our Vice Chair of our Sitting Council.
Thank you, Mr. Tucker. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Shoemake has a second. Mr. Tucker, you've got the floor.
Thank you. Vice Chairman, I'm going to say this to you because we had this conversation back when you first took the position in September, I believe it was.
In the fall?
Yeah, in the fall. It was during the fall. You have really, really stepped up to the plate, and you have really, really done a very good job. And I'm not going to say we appreciate you. Not that we ever doubted you. We just knew that the proof was in the pudding and that you would do a good job, and we appreciate it. And we want to say thank you for that short term, and now we're going to give you a long term. And so we just look for you to just continue to do good work and, keep us straight and lead us down the right direction. So I want to say congratulations and thank you for being willing to do it, because that's something you have to have in your heart to do, because it's extra work.
Thank you, Mr. Tucker. Mr. Shoemake.
Yeah, I echo everything Councilman Tucker just said. Sometimes we disagree, but always we respect one another. And I think you've been a model of that. And I appreciate everything you've done, both professionally and personally, for all of us. So I look forward to having another 2 years with you as Vice Chair, Mr. Brazel.
Thank you, Mr. Shoemake. Any further comment?
yes.
Mr. Jones.
Thank you. Mr. Brazel, I really mean this, and I haven't said, You've been one of the best vice chairs I've ever seen. You were better than me, better than Mr. Tucker.
My feelings are hurt, Jimmy.
No.
That's not the first time he's done it.
Russell, listen to me, seriously. You've been there, you take our phone calls, and I appreciate it. And I just, the support you've given the community as well. Yes. You're a good leader, and I commend you on that, and I'm very proud to serve with you as you being the vice chair of this county council, so thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Any further comments?
Well, I'd like to say thanks.
Go ahead, Mr.
We haven't
President.
voted for it yet.
We got to vote for it.
Well, y'all
Any comments to sell yourself any further?
Nope. Now's the time to get rid of me.
Yeah. Listen, I support you and look forward to continuing to work with you. We'll call it for a vote. All in favor? You can vote for yourself.
I'm good. If I have to vote for myself, I don't need it.
Ms. Hannah, we've got everybody in favor except for Mr. Brazel with a little bit of self-loathing.
Well, I always voted for myself.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. That's 10B. Now we're going to go to council briefings. Item 11. Mr. Cato, you've got the floor for council briefings first, please.
Well, I'll be brief tonight. We've been here long enough, but first of all, I want to thank the sheriff and the committee again for bringing their presentation on the memorial. I think they're doing a great job with that, and it looks great from what I see. And I want to thank everybody with the library also. They do an outstanding job. They have really been working hard to reach out to our rural communities, and I appreciate that. Lastly, I just want to thank everybody for the dialogue tonight. You know, I've said this before, the decisions we make up here sometimes are very, very difficult decisions. And we cannot satisfy everybody, and never will we ever satisfy everybody. It's just not going to happen. There's always going to be somebody that's dissatisfied with the decision that's made up here. And tonight was the first reading of a very difficult decision that Kershaw County, or a project, I should say, that Kershaw County has entered into. And we take it very seriously. And I look forward to us coming to a solution that's going to satisfy at least 95% of the people here in Kershaw County. I wish you all a good night and safe travels home. That ends my report.
Thank you, Mr. Cato. Mr. Tomlinson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to be brief. I appreciate everybody's hard work on the AOD. I appreciate all the community's input. And please keep us vigilant on this process. And also, as I mentioned in my comments, there's going to be a copy that you can look at. That's going to be on the Planning Commission website. So please take the opportunity to go through and observe the amendments that were in my motion this evening. And I'm sure there's going to be other ones. So don't be afraid, we've figured out nobody's afraid to give their opinion, which they should not be. But we appreciate everybody's hard work on this, and I appreciate my colleagues up here putting in the time and effort to get this done. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you, Mr. Tomlinson. Mr. Jones.
Thank you. Just a couple things. I've had some members of the public talk to about this, and I know Mr. Temple and I have talked about it. I know he's on it. But as far as the jail, when do you think you will be bringing something to us? And I know we've talked about it, and I know you've got a plan, but.
Yes, sir. So we have the conceptual plans and the study is done. It's just now a matter of coming to y'all and getting with the Finance Committee on funding. So I've engaged with some of our consultants, our attorneys that we typically consult with over bonds and things of that nature and financing to explore our options. So we're, it will be coming soon.
Within this budget year, for sure.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And I know the strain that y'all are under. I've been there, done that. And when I've talked to you earlier, I appreciate knowing that you're on top of it, because I hadn't heard anything about it, but thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Mr. Shoemake.
Yeah, I don't have much. Sometimes government is messy. Sometimes it feels like, it's too messy, but at least we not forget that it was a couple hundred years ago that I believe it was a South Carolinian in Congress beat someone with his cane. So in a way, we've gotten better. So I appreciate the discourse, and I think we'll get good places.
Thank you for that rousing comment, Mr. Shoemake. Mr. Tucker.
This is what I have to follow. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, AOD, the Airport Overlay District, I want to just encourage as many of you that has been involved in the past to continue to have this dialogue and conversation. And let's see where we're going to end up and how can we fine tune this. And take that with an open mind and an open heart to have these conversations. I want to say to my colleagues, and I think Mr. Cato is still over there, I appreciate your vote and your understanding, you and Mr. Jones. I do not take your vote, no matter which way you vote and how you feel, for granted. So I will always respect your vote, and I understand you're wanting to know of that knowledge because it's important to you so you can answer to your constituents and to the citizens of Kershaw County. So I do understand that. And then I want to say, and I don't have much information, we should have a project, hopefully this spring or summer, that's going to be coming up in the West Waterbury area for transportation, on the US 1 corridor maybe, or White Pond Road. We're working on that. We actually have a COG meeting Monday night, and we'll be discussing this in our projects planning committee, also in our executive committee. So as we get more information, I will share with this body and bring you back the good news. So some opportunities there that's coming, and I'm real excited about it. The other thing I'm gonna say, I had this conversation with a gentleman just yesterday. You don't get a lot of do-overs in life, and what you do today sometimes will not have an effect, whether it's good or bad, until many years down the road. I always try to do good because the decisions we make up here and the work that we do is probably going to, I know it's going to precede me and that other old fellow over there to my left. We're going to be long gone when things come to fruition because it takes time in government. So I'm saying this because I don't want no one to take what we do up here as being half thought about or not considered, that we're not taking our job serious or we don't care. So far from the truth, I can't begin to explain it. So keep in mind, we also are governed by laws. Laws is going to affect us. That's how we're governed in America, and sometimes it's too much governments and laws. But that's the hand we're dealt with. So please understand that, and I say to my colleagues, what you do does make a difference, and what we're doing today will matter tomorrow and the next day. So that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Tucker. Vice Chairman Brazel.
Thank you, Chairman. Appreciate everybody's support as Vice Chairman. I will do my best to fill in for Ben when he's on vacation. Like I said before, I'm sure he'll need a day off.
You hope.
I'm good. I'm good either way.
That's right.
I think tonight was a good example of how we can disagree and be cordial. Obviously, dealing with some pretty heated topics, and everybody at this dais, whether we agreed or disagreed, we were cordial, and I think that is the way we should do business here in Kershaw County. I'd like to remind our administrator, don't forget about me on the engineering piece. Do we have any information? I'll let you brief us. Yes, sir. Okay. And that's it. That's it for tonight. It's been a long night. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Brazel. Appreciate that. I want to thank everybody on the body for the professional discussion and discourse that we've had tonight. There are definitely some disagreements, but one of my main goals in serving on county council again was to bring back and emphasize professionalism and representing the folks of Kershaw County honorably, our neighbors and friends. And so I'm very grateful for that. None of us is an island. We work by majority vote. And so you have to find consensus to get things done in the county, and we want to dutifully take care of the business of the county. Just recently, I have to say, I've never seen somebody so excited about a bathroom. went to Dolly Patton's ribbon cutting for the Kershaw County Fine Arts Center. And I tell you what, there's more hoopla over a bathroom than I've ever seen. So there's a lot of state funds that were secured for converting the Fine Arts Center restroom to being ADA compliant. And it's just a wonderful project. It's a great improvement. It's tough to make a historic building, which is beautiful in itself, comply with modern building codes and make it ADA compliant. But they got it done, had a great contractor, and it was a good result. So I'm thankful for that now in the community. You'll have more folks with disabilities who will be able to more easily enjoy the arts. I wanted to remind council members that after discussion at the end of last year, we moved to council members leading by example and either saying the prayer themselves and Pledge of Allegiance or securing somebody from the community that they'd want to do. We've just had District 1 and 2, and so we'll have District 3 next. So just be aware if you want to reach out to a local pastor or a friend or someone to say the prayer and lead us in the pledge, or you yourself can do it. Last thing I wanted to mention before we move on to the administrator's briefing was really encouraging my fellow council members to have an open mind when it comes to economic development in Kershaw County. I think there's a path forward for us to use FELO revenue, or a portion of it, which is essentially new found money in Kershaw County that doesn't come from the general fund tax base, but using FELO revenue or a portion thereof to work on economic development bonds, partner up with particular developers who build these projects, which would significantly reduce the cost of Kershaw County. Sometimes it can be the county only puts in the land and maybe 30% of the cost of an overall structure that's 50 to 100,000 square feet. I think with the Central Carolina expansion, which there is a $20 million expansion of Central Carolina that's going to occur, those state funds have already been allocated. We're working with Central Carolina to try to get that place filled in before it's even built and get the commitments in place for advanced training and certifications to make us a destination for people in South Carolina, but really throughout the East. And this would be in automotive, healthcare, and various other sections, heating and cooling in the economy. And so with that kind of thing happening, I think it's important for us to look at economic development, figure out, as Sterlite mentioned tonight, he would tell any one of his friends, and that's a wide net, come do business in Kershaw County, bring the jobs here. People have the reservations about particularly dense residential development, but I haven't heard anybody that complains about high-paying jobs coming to Kershaw County. We've got 10,000 plus people that leave every day and go and work somewhere else. Why not have high-paying jobs in Kershaw County? People don't have to travel as much to keep families together. You don't have to have brain drain where the young folks are working in other communities because they can't get a good job here. So I see economic development as a huge solution for many of the issues that Kershaw County faces. And I just, again, encourage y'all to have an open mind as we come up with some proposals to save money on or save ultimate costs on how we do those projects, and then use FELO revenue to fund them. And that concludes my report. So we go to administrator's briefing, item number 12. Mr. Templer, what do you have for us?
Thank you, sir. I have a couple of items. Just first off, we just wanted to speak about the airport overlay district, and that I appreciate y'all's hard work on that. I know that's a lot for y'all to unpack. You know, I live out there. I live in one of the zones. My mother lives in one of the zones, so it is kind of cognitive dissonance to put this in, enact this into my my neighborhood. But it is, you know, the airport's right there. So I have probably not worked on anything this hard ever in the almost 10 years I've been in the administrative wing, because of so many people I know out there. Individual texts, emails, meetings. We'll continue to have these meetings. I understand clearly what the complexion is out there, the theory and spirit of what Red Fox Road and Dicey Creek is to the Hunt Country and the Hunter Barn. So none of that is lost on me, and I'm grateful to be able to be the administrator in my community where I grew up, so I can understand these things and really take and make extra effort to make sure that there's a preservation piece along with the airport as well as the equine community out there. So it's been a tough process. We've got a long way to go, but I feel absolutely confident that we can thread both of those needles. So with that, I'll move on to some updates. Woodward pre-construction is scheduled for Monday, February 3rd. Copeland and Boyd Young Park bid renovations. The opening is scheduled for Thursday, February 13th. Alliance has submitted some documentation for the KC West parking and driveway connection to Whitehead Drive and Lugoff. We anticipate that bid to go out on the street February 5th, so February will be a busy month for projects. The Mount Pisgah Playground equipment, we anticipate delivery by the end of February, early March, and if anything changes with that, Mr. Cato will certainly let you know, but we're kind of crossing our fingers so we can get that one knocked out. They're really looking forward to that. I think that's going to be a neat amenity up there for that community. So,
Mr. Templer, please recall for that area, we've got a donor who will cover half the cost of a pickleball conversion whenever we can work it into the budget.
yes, sir. Moving on, Mr. Brazel, you had asked about the pole barn component there, and this is an endeavor to where currently we are asking citizens or residents if they are going to build a pole barn that they supply some engineering documentation. It was our goal to take that burden off of them and try to get as close as we could to a one-size-fits-all engineering document to relieve them of that financial burden in that step and put it back on the county so we can have an inspection document to inspect these pole barns to make sure that they're safe, but keep costs low for those individuals installing them. We have reached out to 4 engineering firms. Some are a little skittish about providing a one-size-fits-all document, so we're continuing to work with that, and I'm going to continue to reach out to some of the larger firms to see if they can help us out with these items. So still in work, and I would like to have something solidified by within the next week or two to have somebody engaged to start working on that.
And I'm going to share a name and number with you that of someone who does these all over the state and on the coast. That might be a cheaper option.
Okay, that'd be much appreciated. And just one more item on our wastewater treatment plant. You know, that was funded by the SCIP grant, which is also going to be, it's federal dollars, but with the recent executive order freezing some grants and things of that nature, that will not fall within that realm. So that's good news for us. We can keep driving on with that project, which is underway. We're looking at value engineering some of it down to reduce costs a little bit further. We'll be cutting it very tight as it relates to contingencies and things of that nature, but we feel pretty confident that we can get that going. And, you know, of course, we're on the clock for that one as those federal dollars have to be spent. So that's my report, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Templer. Before we get to the legal report, I just got a text, and I have to congratulate my 2 little sweethearts, Alexis and Annabelle, on winning their basketball games tonight. If there's any doubt how much we care about this work, I missed 2 basketball games tonight. And they apparently had great games, so I'll have to look at the footage later. Thank you for indulging me. Mr. DeBose, do we have any legal report?
No, Mr. Chair.
Okay, we've got an executive
Am
session.
is it only my thing?
Yeah, I understand there's only one item. placed
Okay,
on
well,
the
I'll go
executive-
ahead, in reference to the beating of the cane earlier, I'll go ahead and withdraw that since it's already been kind of late. We can address that later.
You want to have this placed on for the next meeting?
Yeah, that's fine. We can do it when we have another executive
Ms.
session.
Hannah, would you please note the agenda for the next meeting? All right, so we have to amend the agenda technically.
Yeah, I think Mr. Shoemaker made a motion.
Okay, we got a second for Mr.
Second.
All right, we got 2 very enthusiastic seconds. We'll take Mr. Brazel's. No discussion on that one. Vote is to remove item 14A. Move it to the next agenda. All in favor? It's unanimous. So amended, and that just leaves adjournment. We are adjourned.
That's the first unanimous all night.